Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Pro Wrestling World Talks with Dan and Mac.
Good evening, or good night, or good afternoon, wherever you are, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Pro Wrestling World Talks. I am your host, Sam Burke, and I am joined, as ever, by my best friend, my hetero life mate, so to speak, and also my co-host of this great program, Mac. Mac, again, welcome back to the program.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here, as always.
As always, what a week it has been for professional wrestling. Well, maybe just WWE and Netflix, I guess, at this point. As really, why do we want to talk about the other company, considering the fact that they really haven't done much at all, even though there has been some discussion that the transition to certain places like HBO Max hasn't gone exactly as expected. As it was being reported yesterday at one point that they may or may not be the lowest viewed program on Max. That's unconfirmed, but that's still being kind of thrown around out there, that AEW Dynamite is the least watch program on Max. I don't know if they're talking about Collision either, or if it's just AEW in general.
Right.
However,
a bit of both, honestly, at that point.
Yeah, just throw them all in one barrel, I guess, at this point. It's just, when you have to name a WWE Hall of Famer Cope, because you couldn't, and I love his new Pro Wrestling Tees t-shirt where it's it's legend, but then of course Edge is somehow a little darker or a little bit more emphasized than legend, of course, because they got to skate the intellectual property that WWE was able to do and dupe Adam Copeland from even getting it. He couldn't even use his own damn name, for Christ's sake. And now he's stuck using Cope. He has to cope with Cope.
I cannot cope with Cope. I'm sorry.
I can't either.
I can't cope.
It's still terrible. Like, it's just, of all bad names, and there's been a generation of bad names of professional wrestling, folks, and this now takes the goddamn cake, just because he couldn't just come up with something different. Like, he doesn't have a marketing team around him. It's just one guy making the decisions at this point in that company, and his decision was Cope. You know who's coping this week? We'll have to talk about him later. Hulk Hogan.
Oh, that guy. Sorry.
He'll be mentioned quite a bit later on in this program, as he was able to make an appearance at on Raw on Netflix. Did not go well. Let's just say that. However, massive week for WWE. They were the number one watched program on Netflix this past week, and now the estimates are coming out that on a worldwide scale, they were watched by about 6 to 7 million people worldwide. I think the final numbers was around 5 in the States, 5 million.
I think it was,
and then worldwide, there was another 2 to 3 million. And that's not also countering the fact that Netflix is still not available in about 90 countries in the world. So this is, again, what like we talked about in recent times, talking about WWE and their switch to Netflix, how now that this was going to become a worldwide brand, and that seems to be the going narrative going forward. And
before we go on, actually, I'm actually glad you mentioned that. I went back for the pictures this evening to watch and grab the pictures from the show itself.
Yes,
I didn't want to do the whole try to Google the pictures and everything. It's a pain in the ass. And listen, I got a computer. Why not? If you go back and watch the show after the live event, no commercials. If you are subscribed to that level of service. So if you watch the show live, regardless of the level of service that you are paying Netflix for, you're going to get the ads. You're going to get the commercials. If you go back and watch it after the event is over, like I did today, and I subscribe to the level of service that has no commercials. I got no commercials.
Kind of surprising knowing you because you're usually a cheap bastard like myself. But
It's actually I think it's because I quote unquote password share. I think I just sold myself out. But
there.
needless to say, when I
hopefully on
logged in,
NordVPN they can't track this.
yeah, it was funny because I had to log in obviously the other day at a different location for something else, and it was like, is this part of your home? Because we noticed it's not on your regular location. I'm like, ah, shit, they're on to me. They're on to me, the bastards.
They're figuring this out.
Yep.
I don't know how they found me.
But that's why. That's why I have that level of service, is because I password share.
Oh, who found you?
They're like writing down my all my network information right now.
At least you're not like Doc Brown and have Emmett L. Brown on the paces on the side of the truck. I don't know how they found me. Your fucking truck. Look on the side of it. It says Dr. Emmett L. Brown.
You know, it's funny. I remember years ago people being like, are you ever going to get like a vanity license plate? I'm like, no, of course not. They're like, why? You wouldn't want that? I'm like, hell no. Then everybody knows who the hell I am.
Yeah, exactly.
Then I can't drive like an asshole anymore.
It's like, I can't be a prick.
Yeah.
It's like...
What's wrong with people?
It's like you. People would know it's you because your name would be Mac, and it would be like a Boston Bruins license plate or something. People would automatically know it was you.
What up?
Boo ran.
Yeah, he would know too. But
Well, it's better. Remember when he had like the Twisted sticker in the back of his car? That old the Jetta. He had like the Twisted or like the Psychopathic Records sticker.
he was the only douche with a freaking Jetta, anyways.
The Jetta was a nice car.
It was a nice car.
It was a nice car. And I got to give him that. Like, it was out of everybody in college at that point that had a car, that was probably the best one. Out of all, it was the most reliable, and you could pack a lot of people in that car. There were a lot of club nights that car was pretty goddamn useful for. And I did feel very safe in that vehicle, even when people may or may not have been drunk driving.
Boo ran.
Yeah. I'm just gonna leave it right there.
Statute of limitations. If any cops are out there listening,
I remember there was one time he led me into this, like, I was following him. And he led me into this like parking lot, and we do like a loop or two around this like apartment complex. And I was like, "Where are you going?" So finally, he allows me to pull up next to him, and he's like, "Hey man, I'm wicked sorry. I know that sounds like a douche move, but you had a cop on your tail for like a solid mile." So I was like, "Oh shit, okay." He's like, "Yeah, it's probably on me too. It's probably on both of us, but you know." I was like, "All right, man. I will not be as annoyed as I actually am in this moment. Don't worry."
Boo ran.
well, yeah, he was always trying to look out for you, but also at the same time, he's just like, "Well, I don't want to get popped either."
Yeah, pretty much.
Which makes sense because that was usually his MO back then, and it's kind of still is. Well, I think he's annoyed with me because we've had many of discussions this week, which we will be kind of discussing later on. But what a massive week for WWE and also the professional wrestling business in general. As Netflix is the most subscribed platform on the planet right now, as far as media is concerned, it's even doing better than I think a lot of the cable customers. And that's just, again, it's not a nationwide thing. This is a worldwide entity. And they're also not going to fudge numbers, which some people I think were. There was one place that came out this week that was just like 680 or something like that. And I'm like, there's no fucking way that they got that they didn't do less than $1 million. There's no fucking way. Maybe they'll do 2.5. Maybe they'll do 3. Yeah, because I wasn't expecting the Logan Paul and Mike Tyson numbers, right? Because
Jake Paul.
Whatever the fuck.
One of the deuces, yeah, I know.
Yeah, exactly. But Jake Paul, Mike Tyson. I did not expect that WWE was going to be able to match that number or even come close. Maybe the same thing with like the Tom Brady roast. It wasn't going to do the numbers of the Tom Brady roast. No, at least on the initial run. At the end of the week, I could be saying something different and being like, "Holy shit!" I think out of everything, that I think Netflix is pleased with the numbers. I think Netflix in general is pleased with it because Netflix has finally made the decision, which I felt like they needed to go a lot, probably about 5 or 6 years ago. There was a time with Netflix where a lot of the stuff that they were coming out with in their original programming was more miss than hits. Yes, they had some massive hits with Stranger Things, House of Cards when Kevin Spacey was still a part of it, and a few others. Like they really did tremendous television, critically acclaimed television, very well binge-worthy television. That's when they decided, well, we're just going to greenlight fucking everything. And that's where I think they fell into quite a bit of issues. Quality control definitely slipped. But the problem is when you're on a platform named Netflix, and when you're on a platform like Netflix, you have to be able to do a bunch of shit. There's a lot of juggling you're going to have to do because you have to try to appease to every single audience member.
Yeah, you can't pigeonhole yourself.
You can't pigeonhole. This isn't a niche product where you're going to have 800,000 fat people, or less now, probably 600, probably between 500 and 600,000 people that are supposed to tune into Max every Wednesday and Saturday night and watch one pay-per-view a month and be considered a sicko. This is, you are trying to appease to every bit of Americana and also the world, which is why, personally, this is a bit of a business model that I think Netflix should be doing, considering the fact that HBO Max is canceling Sesame Street after this year. Netflix, do yourself a favor and get on the Sesame Street bandwagon.
Yeah,
because again, I don't even watch it, right? I don't have kids, but at the same time, it is a television institution that should not go anywhere. It shouldn't. The fact is that also I'm a mark for the Muppets. I'll be completely honest. Like, put fucking Kermit the Frog and Gonzo in front of me, I might be like, oh, okay, I'm all right. I'm into this. Especially that little pepper rat thing, whatever the hell his name is now.
I forget his name, but I
he's
feel
my
like
buddy.
That's different, man. Like that, you think of the Muppets as more like, PG-13 version of what Sesame Street does. Right?
Yeah,
and that's the rationale. But I agree. Somebody needs to pick up Sesame Street because I think that at this point is an institution that
it just
keep going.
Is. There's no reason to get rid of it. And
I
you
mean,
need to be able.
If you're in the ratings business, there might be, but I get what you're saying.
But really, is HBO in the ratings business? Who's in the ratings business anymore? It's about streaming.
I would still say they are though. You're still trying to pop a number.
That's true. You are trying to pop a number, but I mean, what I mean is that Sesame Street. Great. I love you. Okay. That was a nice little cameo. So, yes, but what I meant with the ratings is that when it comes to children's television, doesn't matter. Like, as far as ratings is concerned.
Listen, I get that, but at the same token, if you have just whatever the number is that they want to meet in terms of their viewership, right? And in terms of how many households are tuning in on a somewhat consistent basis to shows, whether it be Sesame Street, whether it be House of the Dragon, whether it be Raw, they're still trying to hit a number, right? And I get it from the standpoint of what you're trying to say, But this is maybe where you take a step back and go back to PBS and just be like, hey, do you want them back? Let them own it again. Let them have viewership again and just own it. And then that way you're getting public broadcasting funding for this show that probably should have never left that platform in the first place. But
Well, I
that's
think
just my thought.
I
Go
think the
ahead.
reason why it left was because of the PBS. Their funding got destroyed. The only thing that PBS does right now that matters is Frontline. That's it.
I'll give you that.
Frontline is probably the best documentary series as far as current events is concerned because there's a lot of people, and they're also perfect on YouTube. There's a lot of people out there like myself that if they need a refresher or something to kind of, if there's a massive world event, they'll tell you about it in 45 minutes to an hour. They'll pretty much give you every single aspect you possibly need. And they're not biased. They're not like other networks. They will give you the facts, and absolutely, but that is one thing that PBS still does. I think they probably still broadcast Arthur. I think that little fucker's still kicking
I
around.
think
Who
so,
knows?
yeah. I don't know.
Stupid aardvark, whatever. I'm fucking around. Arthur's not that bad. I did have to have a moment about a year or two ago. We're talking about children's television now. What the fuck is wrong with us? I did have a moment about 2 or 3 years ago, though, where because Bluey became like a thing,
Yeah.
and I just looked at somebody and I'm just like, who the fuck is Bluey? Like, why is everybody talking about Bluey? They're like, oh, you don't know who he is? And all of a sudden they show me and I'm just like, oh, he's a dog. He's just a dog. And like just this, it's Siberian Husky dog. And it's like, and then people were talking about like the season finale a couple months ago, and it's just like, oh, that was so sad. I'm like, what is it emotion? It's a fucking cartoon dog. What emotional about this? Is it like who's writing for this? How is this? So weird.
Because
But
I'm
yeah,
not booked.
I didn't know who the Siberian Husky cartoon dog was for a
I-
while, and I just was like yelled at someone. It was
I
just
think
like, who the fuck
I
is this?
watched. I think I introduced somebody to it. Back when, and I don't think I watched more than like 5 episodes. So if anybody was gonna sit there and talk to me about it, I'd be like, yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. Sorry, I know the show, but that's it. But back to ratings. I think that when you look at it holistically, I I don't even know what's holding HBO Max up at this point, other than House of the Dragon, which is already out of season at this point. It's not going to be the other wrestling promotion, as Triple H likes to call them.
Well, the Penguin did well. Colin Farrell, Penguin's done very well. A lot of people also, it's been critically acclaimed, including Colin Farrell, who got Best Actor at the Golden Globes for his depiction of Oswald Copperpot, and of course Penguin for that show, which he is fucking fantastic in that. The acting he's been able to do, whereas his, mind you, Colin Farrell has a very deep Irish accent. You cannot fucking tell
Yeah, can't tell.
at all with him as the Penguin. And the makeup job and the acting, like, that was a guy that they were kind of Hollywood. He was the Hollywood it guy for a long time.
Oh yeah.
They were just pushing him out there, and I was just like, why?
And now you see it, because back then I didn't see
Yep.
it either.
Well, I know I did started to finally see it. I don't know if you ever saw the movie In Bruges.
I don't think so. It's probably why.
Really, I'm surprised at that, just because of the cast. Ralph Fiennes is in it. Colin Farrell's in it. Peter Dinklage is also in it. It's a really strong cast. It's a really good. It's a dark comedy. The ending is tragic. Like, the whole movie is sad, but it's a great fucking film.
Alright.
And that's what kind of started my, all right, maybe he's not so bad. Then when he was in Horrible Bosses, I'm just like, I guess I'm a fucking Colin Farrell guy now. He was so fucking funny in that. Just like, I want you to fire all the fat people. It's like he got an injury. Like, we're paying for his rehabilitation because he just, it ends today. Like, cut him off. Like, just this heartless fucking prick. And that movie. But with the Penguin, again, he has proven, I think, to everybody else, including myself, that he's actually got the chops for this. Just because, again, he was another Hollywood guy in the early 2000s. It was just, where they do that? It's just randomly. There's a guy or a girl that all of a sudden you've never heard of before, and then they're in fucking everything. And he fell in that category for a while for me, where I was just like, what has he done? Like, what has he done to deserve all this? I think I sound like Bret Hart there for a second talking about Triple H. What is exactly he done? Like, what is he?
Actually, I think you were leaning into Trump a little bit too on the last emphasis on the word "done."
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the thing, there's one Trump impressionist that is absolutely perfect, and it's Shane Gillis.
Yeah, Shane Gillis rules.
I could, like, don't come at me with Alec Baldwin. It's just like, fuck you.
No.
It's Shane Gillis.
I will watch the episode of Kill Tony where Shane Gillis plays Trump.
And Joe Biden.
And Joe Biden, yeah. I will watch that episode a million times. I rewatched it last month again, just 'cause Shane Gillis does Trump so well for the entire
I'm laughing
time.
at the same parts all the time.
Yeah.
It's just every time. It's just I'm laughing at the same parts.
Yep. Every time. And you can tell by the end, he's like...
Do you collect bugs?
But you can tell by the end, Shane Gillis is getting shit-faced, too.
Oh, God.
And he's like... They just keep handing him Bud Lights, and he's just downing them. He's crushing them. And you can tell by the end, I think even at the end, he's just like, I have to go take a presidential piss.
That's the thing about Shane Gillis, is because of the fact that he's just... That's why he's another guy I like as a comedian, because he just seems like somebody that just... The common man. Like, just this...
Yep.
I'm this... Like, a really funny, amazing guy, but at the same time, it's like, I'm gonna drink Bud Light, like, all fucking night. It's like, really? You're a fucking millionaire, dude.
Drunk. Yeah, of course.
You're a goddamn millionaire. You don't need to be drinking Bud Light to get fucking hammered. Like, it just... I mean,
because you can down them like water. We had this conversation last week, didn't we?
We did have this conversation, but it's just... Look, pal, I gotta have taste when I'm drinking. Like, okay, like I gotta be able to when I'm drinking Bud Light, I'm just like, this is literally fucking water. This is like Aquafina.
I'm gonna give you a Steel Reserve the next time I see you, just to gauge your reaction.
I can't.
Come on.
No,
it's like 8%.
Where are you gonna be going to that brewery in a few weeks? I'll be drinking there.
Oh, we could do that too. Yeah. I forgot we were doing it at the brewery. That's right.
There's a wrestling event at a brewery in my town, which is literally 5 minutes from my house. So Steph is going to be the designated driver that night. I already told her. I'm like, I don't want to hear shit the next day. I don't want to hear.
You're going to hear shit. It's probably going to be me puking my brains out. That's the point. You're going to hear that shit.
I'll be switching my beers and like I'll be like after two. I'll be like, you got any diet soda? Like, you're still going.
Yeah, I will.
What do you have on tap? Yeah, I'll have.
You're gonna fry the drinks out of my cold dead hands. I can tell you that right now.
Probably people I went to high school with will be there. I'll be like, hey, who's your friend? I'll be like, oh, he's on the floor. It's fine.
Hello. Oh man, all I can think of is I don't know how much you remember this. You probably will as soon as I say it, but Fred Toucher interviewing Incubus. That's gonna be me. Show me a full. Oh my god.
That, the thing that bothered me about that was the fact that Incubus got all pissed off. It's just like, your peak's over, guys.
It's
Like,
dude.
you're on the decline.
It was probably the best interview they ever did.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, like you said, their peak time was definitely like a few years prior.
Yeah,
like, are you drunk right now? Like, shut up.
You guys are already on the decline. Like, it's just because I haven't heard them since that interview. I haven't heard one fucking song they've come out with that I've just sat there and I've been like, yeah, I'm glad they're back.
Which is funny because I feel like ever since that interview, people just stop fucking liking them.
No, exactly. It's like Fred,
pretentious douchebags.
Fred Toucher killed Incubus. Like, you have to look at it from the
You know what's funny? He killed two people, right? Or a band and another person. He killed Incubus
and Rich.
Okay, three people then. I'm sorry. So he killed Incubus. He killed Rich, and he killed Rick Pitino.
That's true. Well, actually, he's doing all right at St. John's apparently. So Patino is on the comeback trail.
Okay, in the city of Boston, he killed them. So
all right, that's fair.
Yeah.
And Rich, yeah.
I think that's Rich's fault, though. Honestly,
you can't try to make a power play when you're the number two guy.
Yeah.
And that's Rich. He's always going to be the number two guy.
I guess I'll have to take you at your word, number two. He is a giant number two underneath the Fred Toucher shoe. For all those that are like, what the fuck are you talking about? Just look up Fred Toucher,
yes.
Rich Schertenlieb.
Yes.
I'm not going to spell that.
His fucking last name is just awful.
Yeah. So look up Fred Toucher, Rich Schertenlieb, Boston Radio, and you'll learn all about what we're talking about. Because I know sometimes when we talk about these things, we give no context, and it's like, what the hell are you talking about?
Speaking of which, we do need to comment on this, because we did not, because we brought it up kind of last week. Oh my God, Beetlejuice is in my tour room.
Oh my God.
Hey, buddy. Hey. Trying to see if he wants pets. It's like an invisible barrier in here with him. Like, he doesn't, he's actually in here. He's investigating. Wow.
All right.
So, the one thing that I was going to bring up, because it was something that last week we did not expect was, well, I thought it was a chance it was going to happen. And you were thinking there was no chance it was going to happen. And the fact that the shocking way of how it did happen, where the Patriots win the game on Sunday, which I was already pissed off about, but then within 2 hours, it was already announced that Gerard Mayo was fired. And Mike Vrabel is going to be the New England Patriots head coach. It's going to happen.
We don't know that. We don't know that. It should happen. But
considering he changed his social media profiles to him as a Patriot hugging Teddy Bruschi before Gerard Mayo was fired, that was sending a message. And
that's fair.
That is sending a message. And considering the fact also that he interviewed with the Jets last week, I heard the Raiders are after him, which honestly, that's where I was like, he is going to the Raiders if you don't get him.
Yeah.
And
him and Tom again, yeah.
Yeah. And now there's a rumor Belichick's going to leave UNC and go coach in Las Vegas.
I don't buy that. I don't know. I just personally, I don't buy it.
Belichick has a $10 million buyout option before June 1st with UNC. That's all I'm going to say.
I'm not saying he wouldn't do it. I just don't think it's likely. Whatever, Dan.
My thought process is, if they can get him and they can make that, the problem is that I don't know They did also just fire their GM today too. So
Because I'm not booked.
you fire you fire your coach and you fire your GM. And the guy that you would be bringing in Bill Belichick would want both roles. The question is, would they give it to him? Would they make him GM
I don't
and
think so.
the head coach?
I personally don't think so. That's why I'm saying it.
I'm still shocked Mike McCarthy is not even fired by Dallas yet as well.
Yeah,
fair.
we say that every year.
And the fact that they denied him getting an interview with Chicago. Like,
But again, we say it every year about McCarthy. We
What
said
the
it.
fuck?
We said it when he was in Green Bay.
how does he keep getting fired?
Yeah,
how does he keep getting a job?
Keep getting the job. How does he keep staying? And then finally, Green Bay let him go. They went to Dallas, and I think after the second season, it was just like, how do you still have a job, dude?
What would your do you have any picks for this weekend on who you think's going to win?
In full transparency, I haven't even looked at the games this week. I haven't. I have not given a shit. It's hard to give a shit.
It's 100% fair. That's plus considering the fact too that I keep telling everybody, it's like, look, you have to understand, I need a few years to kind of just step away because I just dived in for 20 years of just watching nonstop every week. I need time away
That's
to
the
kind of
thing.
reset myself.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Every week you're watching because you're competing. It's like, but everybody sit there, oh, you're a fair weather. It's like, no, I'm not a fair weather. I need fucking time away.
Exactly.
I need time away to reset myself and maybe go out and touch grass on Sundays instead of eating fucking wings and yelling at the TV for 3 hours.
Yep. Let me see.
I already fucking do that enough at PLEs. I don't need this shit.
All right, so I got NFL.com up right now. So January 7th to the 14th.
We're helping people with their parlays. That's the way I think about it. Like this.
Yeah. We'll get back to Netflix and ratings and all that stuff shortly. So Chargers and Texans Saturday at 4:30.
I gotta go with LA on that one.
It's very close. I think the Texans could surprise them, but I do think LA is going to win that.
You can't really bet against Harbaugh. That's the problem.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Steelers and Ravens. I'm going to have to go with the Ravens.
Baltimore. Fucking Steelers have been playing like shit the last month.
Yep. Seriously. Broncos and Bills. I think that's an easy Bills win. I don't think it's going to be close as people think it's going to be.
The thing that'll save the Bills is the Broncos' offense is shit, but their defense is really good.
I get that, but you lost the last game of the season to rest your players, so they should come in pretty well rested at this point.
That is true.
Green Bay and Philadelphia.
Philly.
What?
Barkley's literally just going to run like 125 on him for 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be close.
Fucking
No.
That has got to be like, and I still can't believe the Giants GM is retained his job after letting Saquon Barkley go and keeping Daniel Jones. Like, how do you still have a fucking job and not working at goddamn Sizzler or something?
I don't know. I really don't. The other Sunday game is Commanders and Bucks.
Bucks.
Yeah, it's funny. Commanders have the 2-game better record than them, but I'm still gonna go with the Bucks too. I think the Commanders are gonna blow it. And then Vikings and Rams on Monday Night Football.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised they're doing a Monday night game. It is what it is. I guess it's an international game, it looks like. Can't tell what that logo is.
Oh, they've also
Jacked
that may end up in Phoenix because that's supposed to be in Los Angeles.
It's at State Farm. It says right now.
Yeah,
State Farm Stadium.
yeah. They don't know if it's going to be in L.A. or if it's going to. They don't know if it's going to be in L.A. or it's going to be in Arizona.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Because
Yeah, we're not going to go into that right now. But
we're not.
No, not right now. We could do it.
Well,
at
we
the end.
should.
We
'cause-
should, but I think we could do it at the end.
Right. We could segue.
Yeah. There's a lot going on in LA right now. I can tell you.
Yeah,
that.
we'll talk about that later on, but we'll talk about the events recently that happened. Well, we'll talk about what happened on Monday in LA.
That's another reason why I want to later. Because I felt like, as Jim Rome used to say, Rome burned down.
Actually,
I go with the Vikings here. I'm gonna have to go Vikings.
That's a tough one because
The league
Yeah.
might come in and throw a flag on that. You think? Go with LA
well, no. Here's the thing with
because I'm not booked. Where is he?
no. Here's the
I'm
thing,
not booked. There he is.
and actually, my old boss from CCC, Mike Caroli, would be pissed off at me for saying this because he's a huge Vikings fan. But every time, if it's a close game and the Vikings need to make a kick, I'm going with LA. The Vikings have never made
close though. That's the thing.
that's true, but
If they're up by a touchdown going into the fourth quarter, I think they'll win.
I still feel like McVay though is the best coach in the NFL.
But
Like-
here's my problem with McVay. He won the Super Bowl in what? The first year he was a coach, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
No, it wasn't the first year.
Wasn't?
Because they went to the Super Bowl and played the Patriots first, and then they went
That's
back
right.
with
Thank you.
Stafford
Thank
and they
you.
won.
Okay. Yep, you're right. So the first year with Stafford, we'll say it that way then.
Yes,
Okay. And the next year you were like last in the league.
because of injuries.
I understand that, but you should definitely not be one of the worst teams in the league at that point.
No, but
And I feel like even this year, they've done okay, but they've underperformed.
they're in a weak division too. That I think is a massive part of it because Seattle was not great. San Francisco had a really off year.
Yeah, they did.
Plus a lot of injuries too, because McCaffrey couldn't get it going. Brock Purdy had his issues, and then on top of that, Arizona. So it just was. It's a really weak division. But I'm gonna go with the Vikings on this one just because most likely. Plus, it's just they have a better. I think a more overall better team. And you look at the record, and they lost to the Lions on Monday, but it wasn't like they got blown completely out of the water. Or actually, that was a Sunday night game. Sorry. Yeah, but they didn't get blown out. It was a close game up until like the third quarter, and then of course Detroit pulled away. But Detroit is a huge Super Bowl favorite, which.
Yeah.
Is the truth, concerning the fact that they got a first round bye, along with the Chiefs, who did everybody in the AFC a favor by keeping the fucking Bengals out of the playoffs. Because if the Bengals made the playoffs, they were going to fuck some shit up. Like I felt like the Bengals, if they got out of the playoffs, they had because they were so hot, they had a legitimate chance to go to the Super Bowl. Because it's all about momentum sometimes. And teams like that, you just can't, if they're a team of destiny, a Cinderella team, so to speak, you can't stop them. So if you have parlay set up, maybe we help you out here. And now we're going to get back to wrestling, back to our originally scheduled programming.
So before we move on, though, I actually want to
Yes.
talk about ratings one more time, real quick.
Sure.
Because we talked a little bit about HBO, but we only touched on like Netflix a little bit. And you made a comment that when it came down to it, you can't pigeonhole number one. A
Yes.
lot of these shows and movies were getting greenlit with maybe not too much insight behind them. You have shows like Stranger Things. You have a lot of older shows that have been in syndication for a long time. You have kind of a mix with Netflix. And I feel like, especially around COVID, they paid for pretty much anything.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like especially around COVID. And I feel like some of their shows that were homegrown, like Stranger Things, also suffered from it too, because you have, and this goes with any show at this point that has a high production value, right? Where it's like they go on hiatus longer and longer every time. COVID didn't help that, and I think having a year-long weekly episodic show like Monday Night Raw that already has an established base that is now coming over to your product. You might be getting a surge in subscriptions. I haven't looked at those numbers, so I have no idea. But this is really going to help both parties.
It does, because all it does with Netflix now is because Netflix wants to get to the live streaming business. They've tested the waters, and now they have a established brand, and it's going to be able to plug holes for the next 5 years every Monday night, 3 hours. And the way that
we don't know if it's 3 hours according to Triple H, it could be 40
yes,
minutes.
who knows? But it's going to be able now to be plugged and be able to have the entire world have access to it immediately. It is now a worldwide broadcast because it's now played on this time. No, it's played live, and it's going to be it's going to be available afterwards, as Max said earlier, with no commercials later on. If you want to skip all that, you can just watch it. Another thing that I was listening to Conan and Disco Inferno's podcast this week, and they had mentioned that because they went through AEW's YouTube views, which are horrendous, and they talked about WWE's numbers and the sense of how WWE does things where you can watch clips and be all caught up on everything that's going on for the PLE.
Yep.
And they make it so you can skip weekly TV and be able to just get a wrap up. And that's where a lot of their views go, because there was, I haven't seen the recent numbers, but it was reported at one point that they were making off of YouTube like over $12 million a year.
Oh, I believe it.
And I think they have definitely established that now, because I don't know if you subscribe to their Vault channel, which is becoming a real big fucking hit with me now, because they are now putting a lot of the home video releases, not just the DVD documentaries, like they have the CM Punk one on there now, the Paul Heyman one. They are also doing Coliseum video releases in full. They're doing a lot of the backstage stuff. They did they did a backstage B-roll of the Raw 95 shoot when they were on top of the Titan Towers.
Yep.
Like a lot of B-roll stuff that wrestling nerds like myself appreciate. They also did a tour of the WWE warehouse where they went through certain items that were really big in the history of Monday Night Raw, because of course everything has been kind of like a retrospective because of the switch now over to Netflix, which this is not only, I think, the success that came from this is also very telling to what maybe the future of the library is going to end up in. And is Netflix going to go all in, so to speak? pun intended. Are they going to go all in and put all the chips in the center and say, yeah, we want the whole library. We want everything. We want the PLEs. We want it all. And now the WWE Network is on Netflix. I can now see that happening because of the fact that they're going to look at it of it's built in. Like, no one is going to leave. The fans are going to be like, we're going to stay here. They're going to watch other products other than, because wrestling fans, I know other people just think, oh, all you guys do is watch wrestling all day. It's like, no, we like other shit. I mean, we do like other stuff.
I'm replaying GTA 5 right now. I don't watch wrestling all the day.
Yeah, I don't watch wrestling all day either. I like, baseball, basketball, football, plenty of movies. Christ almighty. I've been binging South Park lately, catching up with that. I've just binged Rick and Morty recently, getting back into that. I watch enough documentaries on crime and murder and all that stuff on YouTube. I'm pretty goddamn across the board. I don't just pigeonhole myself now with just professional wrestling. Even though wrestling now is on so many times a week, and it's also accessible with other means, including YouTube and the network, of course. And now if you like AEW, you can watch everything on Max, their entire back catalog. Why would you? It was funny. He talks so much smack about AEW, and then he's just like, so I saw Ospreay save Omega last night on Dynamite, and I'm like, but you hate them.
Boo ran.
That's, to be 100% honest, that's why I played the soundbite right there. Because
I know.
He cracks me out, oh, here's the product, they suck. and then like he'll be like, oh, did you catch that thing last night? It's like, what are you talking about? Oh, on AEW. No, because I thought you didn't watch it. So no, I didn't catch it. Sorry.
I don't watch it, Bill. I thought you didn't either.
Oh, well, it's on right after Big Bang Theory. So, I was watching Big Bang Theory, and then I was watching that after.
Bazinga.
Boo ran.
We love you, Billy.
Yeah, we do this out of love, I swear. He might have got annoyed with me today, though, because he just kept bringing a subject up, which we'll get through later. But it was funny, because there was... I have a jacket that I just bought recently. I feel like fucking Richie O'Prio. The jacket! I just did buy a jacket recently from Chalkline, and it's an old design from the 80s, and it has Hogan, Sheik, Piper, and Andre. They re-released it. There was one that was released at 80s, of course. So, of course, I had to buy it when it came down in price, and I have been getting a lot of comments on it recently. And somebody at work had just mentioned how cool it was, and then he was just like, so did you watch Monday? And I was just like, my biggest complaint on Monday, 4 matches in a 3-hour show.
Yeah.
4 matches. And you had your undisputed WWE, who's supposed to be the top world champion, into your company, regulated to the front row as a spectator.
So not only that, but your world heavyweight champion,
not even booked,
not booked, and had a promo package that was about 2 minutes long.
And it's just, and there was just so much filler, and it's just, and normally I'm not someone, like when people talk about like match times and that type of stuff, it's just like, who the fuck cares? But like 4 matches in a 3-hour show?
So let's start going through this, right? Because the first thing is Triple H introducing us to the Netflix era.
Yep.
I didn't hate the promo package that they provided
Nope.
for this. I didn't hate that they surrounded the ring and then showed it off with him in the middle. I didn't find this to be filler. I found this to be an engaging way to introduce the Netflix viewers.
It's the norm. He did that in NXT all the time.
Exactly.
Like he did that in every takeover at NXT. Triple. That was what he did. It's been the norm. I never have. He does it in the big shows.
Yep.
I've never hated it. So this isn't something I don't sit there and I'm like, he's just out there stroking his ego. No,
I didn't feel that way either.
no.
I didn't. But then
Sorry, I cut you off.
no, you're fine. But then we go to The Rock. I didn't like the placement of this. I understood why they did it. I still understand why they did it. My issue is that you have him come out less than an hour later again, anyways. Was that necessary? Did it add to anything? You could make the argument, and I have pictures to prove otherwise, obviously. But I just felt that he didn't need to be out there for like 20 minutes. He didn't. I get why they did it. I have nothing against it, but why couldn't Triple H do what he did? And thank the Netflix partners and thank Ari Emanuel and whoever else he thanked.
Well,
You could still have him have his, oh, we're cool now, buddy moment with Cody Rhodes. You can still do that later. I just felt it was unnecessary. Go ahead.
Well, I think the thing with that I have to. Dwayne gets a lot of crap now, but I also
To be
have
fair,
to.
I'm not giving him crap. Just to
No.
clarify.
I know you're not.
Okay.
I'm kind of. I'm not. There are aspects of Rock that annoy me, but there are other aspects that I look at it and I just say he does really care about this industry. And I think that he is someone like, especially for his appearance in NXT, getting them to almost a milli. They were really close. And also the fact that he just was able to go to that show and elevate the program and
Oh yeah.
you give them the rub. It's just he's almost saying, because the reading between the lines, I guess I can't comment and say that he's a board member. So him talking to the president of Netflix and the box and all that stuff, and not just the fact that he's a board member, but the man, as much as people probably want to sit here and try to debate it, the fact is that he's in the midst of the project with Disney. That's the reason he's not going to be at WrestleMania, probably. That's at least the rumor, is because he has to do Disney with, they have to do reshoots and all that stuff. So his obligation is going to be with that. So
Right.
he still has, as much as people want to sit there and be like, well, he hasn't hit it, when you have Disney behind you, you still have a little bit of clout. So for everybody that wants to sit and be like, he's not the star that he once was, maybe so, but at the same time, people still give a shit.
I think objectively he's a bigger star.
I agree.
Yeah,
And-
just because he's not a quote unquote star in the wrestling business or industry anymore doesn't mean he's not a bigger star in
Mainstream star.
in
The
mainstream media. Exactly.
Pop culture. That's
Yeah.
what people care. And at least, but also in the wrestling business, he's still got that icon status, where there are actions, though, with The Rock that he is going to have to pull back from, because we'll talk later on about someone that his antics have caught up with him big time. But in Rock, I think, with some of the things that I've seen him do and talk about in recent times, especially on Joe Rogan's podcast, a few of them, I was just like, shut up. You're lying. I know you're lying. Don't sit here and tell me. Like when he said he almost left WWF, I think in like 1997 to go do Pride, I said, shut the fuck up. You were not going to leave WWE and go to Pride Fighting Champions in Japan, where those guys were not on no drug testing in Pride. Those guys were animals. That might have been also peak MMA, in my opinion, was like Pride, because holy shit, was that company fun. Some of the events that they put on, the guys that came out of there, Lindell, and Rock wants to tell me that he is going to go to leave the WWF, which is predetermined industry, that it takes a toll on your body, but not to the extent of what Pride would do. And you're going to go over to Pride, and you got to face Chuck Liddell, Don Fry, Crow Cop, Rampage Jackson, and you want to sit there and tell me that you were going to leave WWE to go do that? Sit down and shut the fuck up. There is no fucking way that you were going to go to Pride in the late 90s. There's no way. That is the biggest fucking lie not made by Hulk Hogan ever, by a wrestler. It's right fucking up there. And that's kind of what has led to some people turning on him. Because there's a thing called the internet now. And also, when you say comments like that that's seen by a worldwide audience, that comes off as disingenuous and something that, because he's pictures of 1997 Rock, right? Like if it was Rock now, him in UFC, okay, maybe, because he could just punch someone and they'd explode, because he looks like he's like a rock person now, literally, pun intended. Just because the fact he does, like, he looks like a rock formation wise, like his upper body. It's ridiculous. And he's getting in like the Incredible Hulk territory. It's just like, all right, dude, come on. All right. Maybe cut back on some things, like, how about you not, all right, a little bit, cut that back a little bit. I don't know if you want, like, what are you at now with your biceps? 26 inches? Jesus Christ. Stop. Please stop. Yeah. But, telling you. Just saying.
It was more the Python comment, but yeah, I got you.
No, I'm not saying I wasn't making the Python comment. Like, just, I was only made the Python comment just because it's just, it just.
I got it, don't worry.
I wasn't trying to do the pun. All I was saying was it was just something of a promo nature or something. I don't know. Maybe something he would say just to kind of get a rise out of people. But if you're reading between the lines, Mac, The Rock will not be at WrestleMania this year.
Let's go through this match first, and then we can address that, because I feel there are stories there that are still ripe for telling, so to speak, but there's some caveats, I feel like, obviously. But to your point, I will say I got the vibe as well. I think I even said it during this promo that he had.
That's the vibe I got through the promo. Yeah. When he thanked Cody Rhodes, I was just like, well, that's not happening.
I don't want to say that just yet, but let's go through. So Raw usually for the past couple of months has been Wade Barrett and Joe Tessitore. Monday night we saw the return of Pat McAfee, who should be most likely on Raw with Michael Cole moving forward on Netflix. They haven't announced it officially yet. If anybody watched NXT, there was a 3-chair panel or table, as it were, of Booker T and Corey Graves with him, which I thought was very interesting considering there is legitimate heat between them. I think they've squashed it if I'm not mistaken, but again, they have a history that they do not like each other.
Well, I don't know also. I think that may have also been some sort of a kind of a work shoot-ish type deal.
That's what
at least
Booker
that's
has
kind of
to in the past.
that's the vibe I got from it. At least a little bit.
I think it was legitimate where, and I'm making this analogy in full context, knowing that there was legitimate heat between these two, but I look at it more of the heat between those two, Corey Graves and Booker T, almost like CM Punk and Adam Page.
Kind of.
Where, Adam Page might have taken a liberty. Corey Graves has taken liberties in the past as well. I just think Booker T handled it differently than CM Punk did.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the analogy I would make. But either way, again, just throwing that out there that this is probably the Raw team moving forward. Pat McAfee, Michael Cole.
I don't see why Pat will have to take a hiatus considering the fact that it's not Friday where Saturday you have to be for College Game Day. You don't have to do that now. Like Mondays, you can work the show. So I think that shouldn't be a fucking problem, at least in my opinion.
One would think, and again, you bring eyes having a guy like McAfee on there, especially now that
Of course
he
you
is on
do.
Game
And
Day.
I'm sure Netflix, that was part of the deal. It's like he's a part of it, right? Yeah, of course he is.
Yeah, sure. But we'll get to more of those antics later on.
Well, Ari Emanuel's just like, fuck, another carry the one.
Yeah,
two.
I don't think it matters. I don't think he cares. I don't think.
No,
he cares.
the way that company produces money,
especially now.
You think Dana White's looking at WWE and he's just like, motherfuckers, because it's just
He's looking for whatever crossover he can down the road.
He's got to be just looking at that right now and just being like, and it's not the same business.
It's not.
It's not the same business. It's never been really the same business. Does it have similarities like in the gray areas? Yeah, but it's one's real, one's not. That's the way it is. And the fact is that Connor ain't coming back. You wouldn't want him back.
You wouldn't want him to
at all.
I was gonna say,
like, he's done. You can't bring him back. It's over. Can't go back to that. John Jones is, mind you, John Jones in the last 5 or 6 years is kind of, I'll be honest in the sense that he has at least cleaned up his act where he's not getting dirty, pissing dirty all the time. So from that perspective, I have to admit, yeah, he's the best ever when he's clean. Even when he's not clean, when he's pissing fucking gasoline, it's like, okay. But he doesn't know if he's going to keep going. Because again, it's like, why do I have to keep coming back? I've already beaten everybody. And that's kind of the way I look at UFC right now, of just like, they're looking at WWE, especially now since this merger, and all these international crowds are going crazy for them. They're breaking attendance records every effing time. They broke it again on Monday. They broke merch sales on Monday too.
I mean, listen, you're in a stadium that already holds X amount of people. Of course, they're going to break an attendance record for Raw. Of course, they are.
But it's
I'm not saying that to be insulting, but it's just like.
No, I get it, but it's just like, again,
I guess is the best way to say it, right?
It's concerning the fact of that's happened like a dozen times in the last 2 years, where it's just like, we broke another attendance record. It's like, of course you did, because you guys are just, it's a fucking machine right now. The last 2.5 years, And to be, and to just say this, the last 2.5 years in WWE has literally made up for the 5 or 6 years previous to that. Because it literally just took the way that things have been going and the things that everything has been firing. They are probably, if not the only consistent entertainment entity that I think gives you a bang for your buck consistently now.
On a consistent level, yeah. I think that's accurate.
Every month, every week, they're putting on quality TV.
It's funny. Every time we kind of have a conversation about consistency, I think of that horse meme or picture, or whatever you want to call it, of the first few seasons of Game of Thrones and then the last 2 seasons are the stick figure horse. That's how I feel when we talk about consistency. But listen, even if you make that argument for WWE, as we've said so many times on this show, it's like they've had one bad PLE in 2024.
Yep,
that was it.
That was it. And it wasn't. There were moments of it that I hated, but there were also moments of it that I was just like, it wasn't so bad. But like it was, I would give it like a 4 out of 10, which is a 4 is not terrible nowadays, considering some of these movies that come out, like Madam Web and fucking.
I'm not even gonna watch that movie.
What is that? What is another one? The Craven one that just came out that already.
I'm not gonna watch that either. Yeah.
Joker 2, all these.
Not watching that either. Yeah.
Refuse. Sorry.
There are some movies that
there is no Joker 2.
Yeah, there's some movies that on that 3 movies that I think you just mentioned, I'd maybe watch 2 of them if they were on television. Like Craven, I'd maybe consider watching on television if it was on. I'm not gonna go out of my way to find it, but if it's on and I just happen to, come across it, maybe Madam Web too. I don't know, but Joker's gonna be one where it's like
maybe for Sydney Sweeney, but that's it.
Well, I mean, you're making my point for me. Thank you. that was the whole argument. Anyways, Travel Combat, Solo Sikoa.
Solo Sikoa and Roman Reigns.
I've heard a lot of commentary this week since Monday that if people were picking between this and the main event, a lot of people like this one better.
Yeah. It was tough because it just.
You're telling 2 different stories.
It's 2 different stories. Because the thing with Seth Rollins and CM Punk, that technically was a matchup with because Rollins wanted to get this in like 2019, in my opinion. He was trying to get this done like 5 years ago, and that was around the time that Punk had just signed the deal with Fox to do Backstage,
right?
And he even admitted this, I think, recently on an interview, I think with Van Fleet. And he just said, I was trying. See, he wanted this for about 5.5 years. And that, to me, should have been the main event. I feel like that this match, because of the fact that all the buildup was on SmackDown, it's like, well, wouldn't you just do this at a fucking PLE then? Like, why are we doing this now on a show that the majority of the time you weren't on?
So it's funny you mentioned that because, and I was going to save it for later, but I think it's a good segue to have now. There were 2 matches on Monday night that potentially were WrestleMania matches. You can even make the argument that most of the card was WrestleMania matches.
3 out of 4, yeah.
Yeah, so this was one of them. The main event was one of them, and Liv and Rhea was the other one.
Yes.
So I don't disagree. I think, obviously, and we talked about this before, you want to pop in circumstance for this kind of show. You want this to have a PLE vibe. First show on Netflix. You want it to put butts in the seats. You want it to produce views. You want it to be like, hey, this is what you can look forward to every week on Monday Night Raw on Netflix. Bleh. But I just felt that, for this match especially, it was a good match, obviously.
Yes.
I think, unfortunately, as you continue to say almost every week at this point, Solo Sikoa is once again outshined Jacob Fatu interfering in this match. But I didn't hate this match. I didn't hate the finish, obviously. I think the way they did the interference, I think, was the right way of going about it. I think even inserting KO and Cody into the interference, I think, helped further their feud a little bit. Cause
yes,
they have to go for next month, until Royal Rumble.
They it was also able to, just in case that if people were not watching, if let's say they weren't watching because they don't have cable and they have Netflix and they're finally watching it on Netflix, that was a nice little tie-in for them to be able to be like, oh, okay, so these two were fighting for some reason, so why are they fighting? And then they go and YouTube it, and then, oh, okay, so they're all of a sudden tied in. So that was a nice little kind of side kind of mission to let people know, hey, these two guys are also on our program. So watch them on SmackDown on USA Network. So, but yeah, I mean, you really couldn't have Solo go over on this. It really wasn't even a fucking
that wasn't gonna happen.
An option. It just wasn't. Like, you're gonna have Roman Reigns lose on the fucking debut episode of Raw on Netflix? No way. No. And it went the way it should have.
Yep.
I guess Roman staying on Raw. So that's a nice so that again, that's.
And I didn't look at the date actually that he put. 11/27. Yeah, I'm sorry, 1/27. Yeah, that is a Monday. So.
Yep. So he's
so not only are we probably getting a trailer drop on that date, I would imagine, for 2K25, but it seems like he's also going to be on Raw at least for now.
It sounds like to me also from the fact that they were talking about his, because he went into the 2K room or something.
So the thing is, that's what I'm trying to say. So the thing is that he went into that room as Paul Heyman is backstage with him, asking when they can expect to hear what next or whatever the hell Paul was saying, and that is the date he gave. Which, if you look on the calendar, 1/27 is a Monday night, or a Monday period, I should say, and he's walking into the 2K25 studio, quote unquote. So who knows if that's also the date we're getting a trailer drop.
I am going to make a prediction now, and I think it's pretty much, if hasn't been speculated. I'm sure, because I don't know if it's been speculated, so I don't want fucking people to be like, oh, you saw it somewhere. That pretty much confirms to me that Roman Reigns is going to be on the cover of 2K25, and probably he's going to be the focal point of the showcase.
I think both of those are accurate. I'm hearing the same thing that you're hearing, though. I'm hearing that he's going to be on the cover. I'm not here.
I did not see anything. I didn't read anything.
I did.
And
I can tell you that's being speculated.
I didn't either. I thought when I saw the 2K room, when I heard that he went with the 2K thing, I was like, okay.
No, it's being heavily speculated already by this.
Okay, that makes sense that other people also think that way, but I don't want people thinking that I stole from somebody, because it's like I haven't watched any YouTube videos on 2K25 or anything. But I think that that's kind of where my thought process is going.
Yep.
I'm probably not wrong.
No, I don't think you are at this point, honestly. Speculation aside from other people on social media, it makes sense. I do want to go back to what happens before that and right after the match, because, again, we already kind of talked about it and alluded to it, but that is The Rock coming right back out. And for those that were paying attention for The Rock's promo, he is High Chief Sully. And he comes out to give the Ulafala of the Tribal Chief back to Roman Reigns. And there's this awkward moment before The Rock finally just gives him a hug.
Which, that, I think, you're just waiting for the pull-in. You're just waiting for that pull-in of the rock bottom, and then you're just like, okay, well, we know where we're going. And
then they don't do it.
They don't do it. And that pretty much confirmed. Yeah, because you could go with from that also, the beginning of the promo, reading between the lines when he's out there thanking Cody Rhodes and talking good things about him. I'm like, okay, there's step one, but it's still early. And then comes out at the end of, and I think everybody was expecting, it's just like pull in rock bottom. Doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen.
So let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Given
Let me give you an answer.
Oh wow, I'm hoping that you will. Given WrestleMania, given the Monday night after WrestleMania, given Bad Blood when he came back out again and kind of the 1, 2, 3 cutting of the throat, and then given Monday night, like I said, do you still feel like they're building to something, or do you feel that now it's like they're just going to squash it all?
I think they're. Depends if he comes out at the Rumble, because again, there's so much intrigue with the Rumble this year. Because
oh god, we'll talk about him after.
I hate where it's going,
Yeah,
and I know where it's going.
Oh, me too. Trust me. I already said I did.
And I'll talk about that later. Of course, we'll talk about it later. But it's just, you just sense it, and it just drives me fucking crazy.
Yup.
But the thing with Rock is that, he's got very few of the bullets left in the chamber, and if he doesn't do it now, it might never happen. And that's, if this was 5 years ago, if this was 10 years ago, this would be crippling to Mania. I feel like now, though, they're in a position they don't need him. And
I agree.
Because he's one of those guys that's like, you always got to have a plan B. Obviously, he's plan A. But, as Triple H said it, you always got to have a plan B. And I'm sure that's what he's got.
Oh man, I'm not touching that one.
And I'm not saying it's, that's more ways than one.
I know.
And the thing that people need to realize, man, you broke me, because now you fucking broke me. Literally now, because it's like it just hit me, and I'm like, fuck, shit, he got me.
Oh man.
But in most years, The Rock not being able to be at your show when he's your plan A, that's crippling. Because it's now not going to be the same thing anymore. Like, it's not going to be the you have him, now you don't. And it's going to be less appeal and all that stuff. That's the way that you would have thought 5 or 10 years ago. This was your plan A. Now you don't need it.
But
now you can sit there and be like, it'd be nice, but
I want to go
fuck
back
it.
to something that you said in this conversation, though, no more than 5 minutes ago, and it's not even about this Plan A, Plan B shit. It's about his window, and it's not getting bigger; it's getting smaller.
No.
So and listen, there's two comments to make at this point, and that is whether it's Roman Reigns or it's Cody Rhodes. At the end of the day, me personally, it needs to happen. Whether it's one or the other, if not both.
Yeah.
Truthfully, okay? It needs to be The Rock and Roman Reigns and The Rock and Cody Rhodes. Because that is exactly what you have built up. But if it's not going to happen, you need to start making a plan with Dwayne. Sorry. And be like, you need to give us your availability because this needs to happen. And if it doesn't happen at WrestleMania this year, what is the alternative? Can it happen the year after? And if not, why? That's number one. Number two, they need to have an alternative plan. So hear me out for 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
You could still do next year, and you could potentially do, because now we have SummerSlam that is going to 2 nights. Maybe you pick a night of SummerSlam. And then maybe the next time is at WrestleMania with the opposite person, whether that be Cody or Roman. That's besides the point. And is that optimal? Not really, because I think both should be WrestleMania matches. You have a night 1 and night 2, though. But is his body up to doing 2 nights?
SummerSlam's at MetLife, isn't it?
If I'm not mistaken, that's
this year.
They'll find out.
They're at MetLife this year, which is technically, quote unquote, the New York market. They can.
It is MetLife. You're right.
Yeah, they will technically sell it as, it's the New York market, even though it's fucking Jersey.
They're actually selling it as Jersey. It's in the logo.
Okay, fair.
But either way, you're right.
But either way, they've done it for years. Every time, it's like New York market.
It is.
That's fair. But
actually, it's let me explain. So it's in the logo, SummerSlam, New Jersey, but the logo itself is, if I'm looking at this, New Jersey, a blimp, the logo above the stadium. On the other side of the stadium is the Statue of Liberty, the bridge, and then, downtown the city, whatever.
Okay, so it's the New York market, let's face it.
Exactly, yeah.
And so why not? Fuck it. Like, you're going to be, it's going to be in New York anyways.
Yeah, I mean, listen, not only is
Fuck
it New
it,
York,
do it.
It's also the first time you're doing a PLE other than WrestleMania that's 2 nights.
Well, is it going to be 2 nights this year?
Yes, 2025. I Googled it because I couldn't remember where it was. You said MetLife. So 2025 SummerSlam professional wrestling event will take place Saturday, August 2nd and Sunday, August 3rd at MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey.
That's fair.
I also thought it was 2026 for whatever reason.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be, they were starting that in Minnesota. That's what I thought. Because that's going to be in, because they're going to be in Soto next year. And then,
maybe that was the initial announcement. Maybe they changed it.
Yeah.
Maybe they moved it up. I don't know.
Maybe they moved it. But I could have sworn that was
no. You're right, because I thought the same thing.
Well,
fuck.
We'll comment. Well, I was going to comment if we're talking about PLEs and locations. A lot of people are not happy right now about the Royal Rumble next year.
Yeah.
A lot of people are not happy.
I don't know. We'll touch on that later, though.
Yep.
Because I think there's just so much we need to still unpack for this. But
oh yeah, I mean,
yeah,
that's what it is.
This was basically the first full hour. Really, was The Rock and Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa, and obviously the monologue to open the show. And then, ironically enough, after that is John Cena on his farewell tour, talking about how, I guess I'll get in the Rumble. No shit, John. No shit.
We know, John.
No shit.
We know.
So John Cena came out, obviously thanked Netflix as well, thanked the fans, this is my last ride, blah, 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 blah. I don't know. He didn't tell me anything I didn't already know. The only thing he didn't tell me is what show he's going to be on, if he's going to be on TV shows. It's the only thing he didn't tell me. Other than that, he told me everything I already know.
The only reason that it's hard because I know what this is leading to. And
Number 17.
Yep. At the same time, I am not as agonizing as I would be if it was 7 or 8 years ago.
No, fuck that. I'm still agonizing.
No, it's not. It's just no. It's not.
Yep, I'm with Homer.
It's not what it was. It's not what it was 7 or 8 years ago because somebody decided to go out there and tarnish his legacy more.
Okay, I understand that, but here's my issue. We just got off a 4-year reign, effectively 4 years. We'll say it that way.
Almost, yeah.
Yeah, close enough. That the last 2.5 was part-time.
Yes.
Cody has not been part-time.
No.
Gunther has not been part-time. Seth Rollins has not been part-time.
Actually, you were about to say the exact reason why I'm pissed off about this.
That's... I don't think I need to say it at this point. And this is why I don't want him to have a championship. The only way I would give him the championship, and I mean this sincerely, is if he immediately vacates it. Immediately. And I know people are going to hate that, and I can tell by your facial expression that you don't like it either. But at the same token, I would much rather that and have a tournament that then 2 people fight it out at a PLE for a vacated title. I would rather that than an absentee champion again. It's happened enough. I'm not for it anymore.
I would do. I would not have him win the Rumble, but if you're going to have him go to WrestleMania and challenge, and the rumor is Cody.
I know what the rumor is, but I still don't want it.
If you're going to have him challenge Cody, you have him win Elimination Chamber and do it there. And that's how, and have him challenge Cody. And if you're also going to have him challenge Cody, John Cena has to go heel.
I don't think they'll do it. I don't disagree that he should.
They should.
If it's facing Cody Rhodes. I 100% agree. But I just don't think they'll do it.
They should.
I listen. I don't agree with you. Because of multiple reasons.
It's so hard.
If it's Cody Rhodes, I agree. Right? I'll say it that way. But I disagree that he should be heel because he's a shitty heel. Number 1. Number 2, keep him face and have him face Gunther. That makes more fucking sense.
Cody, the thing with this is that I have which I honestly think that if John, I don't know if John is going to win at WrestleMania. I don't think he is. I don't think they're going to change the course. Do I think he's going to win a 17 championship this year? Yes.
Yeah, I do too.
Do I think it is going to be against Cody Rhodes? No. I think it'll probably be against Gunther or somebody else down the line. I do not think it's going to be Cody at Mania because I don't think they want to deviate from the plan. And having Cody lose to Cena and then having Cena have to lose it like at fucking Backlash. Come on. No one wants that. No one wants that at all. I don't want that at all either. And
speak for yourself. Speak for yourself. I don't want him to win the belt. That's the problem, right? and this is why I have such a hard time with it, because if you are facing either of the two current champions, I don't think you should win against either one of them. I'm being 100% transparent. I would rather he face Gunther, because Gunther is a natural heel.
Yes.
Where Cena is a natural face.
Yes.
Every time they've tried to turn Cena heel, it sucked.
Well,
Granted,
that was also under Vince's
yeah, and that was
reign.
part of what I was gonna say. But he's also not convincing either. Just saying, he's not.
Sorry, I hate to cut you off.
No, I just feel that somebody else needs to win at Mania against one of these two guys, one of these two champions, and then Cena should face that person. Just that's the way it should be. I don't think it should be Roman Reigns. I don't think it should be CM Punk. Maybe it's a Seth Rollins. I don't know. Maybe it's somebody else. I don't know. But the two current champions, no. It just doesn't feel authentic. It doesn't feel believable. And to your point, I don't think you should win at Mania. If you're going to have him win, I don't even think it should be Backlash. I think it should be something like Money in the Bank. And maybe he wins Money in the Bank instead. And then cashes in and wins and has the title until, I don't know, Survivor Series or something. But at WrestleMania, no. I think give him a moment. Extend this whole little plot through 2026 so he can still have a moment maybe at next year's Mania. I don't know. But just arbitrarily handing him a belt because, hey, here's your 17, John. I don't like it. I hate it.
I don't like this. I don't like this narrative.
That's part of the issue.
I don't like the narrative that people put out there, and like when Michael Cole sits there and says, "Oh, he's my GOAT and he's the greatest," it's like. The reason why I don't think John Cena is a GOAT, and the reason I have to keep reminding people, because this week again, all I have been hearing is all this love and affection for this fucking guy, when for years all I did and all I heard from the internet wrestling community, including myself and the person that I co-host with this show every fucking goddamn week, the biggest goddamn reason that he left and didn't come back in this thing for 15 fucking years was because of jerk off Cena. Because for 15 fucking years, that's all we goddamn dealt with, of just constantly, dude, it fucking drove me nuts.
Okay. I'm going to have two things I'm going to say here real quick. Okay. You want to talk about Plan B, and this was earlier, of course. The reason I started laughing a little bit is, in my opinion, especially back then, Triple H was a Plan B. Okay. Bret Hart even alludes to this. And this is why when people think about how Triple H is the game, it's funny because, yeah, but he wasn't always the top guy. There were other guys that were always a step above, like your Stone Cold Steve Austins, like The Rock, like Undertaker at times, Kane even, and other guys that Triple H worked well with, but Triple H was never that top guy. And, there were times that he was, and total props to that, total respect, and Triple H as a talent, but he was never those guys. The same can be said about John Cena. And I look back to the very first one-night stand in the ECW arena. Paul Heyman looks up at Bradshaw and says, the only reason you were WWE champions because Triple H didn't want to work on Tuesdays. That's how I feel about John Cena. John Cena was never going to be the guy. He became the guy for the exact same thing that Paul Heyman, as I just mentioned, said to Bradshaw. Because guys like Austin, guys like The Rock, guys like even Kurt Angle were taking their balls collectively and going home.
Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, you could make that argument as well. I agree. They were taking their ball and they were going home, or they were going somewhere else. Or they had painkiller issues. Or they went to Hollywood. They left.
Had to retire early, all this.
Yeah, all that stuff, exactly. They all left, and it left a huge hole that they shoved Cena into. And to his non-credit, Vince McMahon pushed him down everybody's throat and said, "That's our guy." And people hated it.
The biggest problem with him, and the biggest problem of his era, was the fact that they never allowed him, and he never allowed anybody else to get above him. He was almost
Mr.
like Hogan.
Kennedy!
He was almost like Hogan, except he believed in it, the way that he politicked and the way that he dealt with that roster. He was worse than Hogan, and he drew probably an eighth of the money that Hogan did.
Yeah.
All you need to know about John Cena is the fact that Cody Rhodes has been back with that company now for almost 3 years. It'll be 3 years this coming end of March, beginning of April.
Yep.
He has already outsold John Cena in merchandise in the previous 18 years of his glorious run.
You know, it's funny because I remember...
That's a telling statement to me.
But that's the thing, man. If you go back and look, especially at the Attitude Era, people hated the corporate shill champions. And that, not for nothing, is exactly what Cody Rhodes is. But they love him for it.
But it's different.
It is different. You're 100% right. But they always hated that shill for the business champion. And I get it maybe to the extent of like Vince McMahon as a heel at the time. Sorry, redacted. But, you know, they hated that kind of character. Whereas that's exactly what Cody Rhodes is. And granted, you know, I think Cody has more of a passion for the business that he is able to portray on television than some of those champions at that time. But, you know, like you said, it's different. I agree. But then you have all these other guys like Cena that, you know, and don't get me wrong, like Cena had his moments. I'm not going to sit here and say he wasn't entertaining, but usually the entertainment value was based on the person he was working with. That's the biggest thing. Like, I remember John Cena with Santino. Santino made that funny.
He did.
Nothing Cena did made that funny.
He did.
He did. And, you know, some of the moments with Big Show made that funny. The moments with Brock made that entertaining. Not Cena. Especially when Brock beat the crap out of him in that one match, but, you know, that's besides the point,
fantastic.
I guess. It was. Oh my God.
There were, you know, it was, I still remember WrestleMania when Taker squashed him in like
2 minutes.
3 minutes.
Yeah,
it was so great.
Yeah.
It was, which, that's one thing I'll give Cena credit for. Even Cena, it was Cena's idea when Brock destroyed him at SummerSlam that year. He's just like, look, he just ended the streak. I am not doing, like, me doing anything to him for, like, anything relative damage to him should be minimal at best, because he just ended the fucking Taker streak. It's like, I'm going into a meat grinder, and that's the way it has to be. But also he was in a position at that point, really, where it was like, I'm already made, so I can take this L.
Right.
Which I'll give John credit. In the last decade, probably since around 2014, 2015-ish, 2016-ish, in the last decade or so, minus a few years, he has done everything he can to give back all the to try to make other people bigger. But again, there was still a lot of times that, Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania 30 should have beat him, and he didn't. There were a lot of times that
Bray Wyatt should have beat a lot of people.
yes,
Just throwing that.
and it's just a lot of people that he should have beat, and it just kept on. We're just going to rely on him. We're going to rely on him, and that was all they had. And that wasn't John's problem. There were things that he probably should have done though, to try to get other people's elevated. He tried with CM Punk, but for some reason it wasn't all John, but at the same time there were enough people also backstage that just never saw anything in Punk. There was your Kevin Dunns and your Redacted and your other Redacted. I think that
well, that guy's an idiot anyways, so
jerk off, complete fucking jerk off. All of them, all three of them,
those two especially.
All they did was especially, but Kevin Dunn I'll put in the category of two, just being a complete fucking moron. Jim,
all right,
I find you tiresome. You know what, you bucktooth motherfucker? I'm gonna throw you to this goddamn table.
Yeah.
Like,
listen, I'm gonna say this about Cena though, because I want to move on. I don't want to keep spending more time because we can talk about Punk later.
Right.
I think that the only sucks because I hate him so much. It's hard for me to like really see straight with this guy, but. I will say like he's done well
good
for
one.
the business. He's done well for his charitable contributions and stuff like that. But I still can't stand him. Anyways, if he drops the belt, because let's be real, he's got to get it eventually. Sometime in 2025, he's going to get the belt. If he drops it to somebody like a Sami Zayn or somebody like that, I wouldn't be disappointed with that. It has to be somebody new, though. It can't be right back to Gunther or right back to Cody Rhodes. It has to be to somebody else. Braun Breaker would be cool, too. Just throwing that out there.
No, I agree. I agree. It should have been... We're in a younger kind of... Or it's not younger, but more so. We do have younger guys in the pipeline. Yeah. And... we have to do all we can.
Kaiser would be another one too, actually. Sorry to cut you off, but
there's a lot of
excellent.
Yes, there's a lot of guys. Maybe the Rumble this year should be used to elevate somebody else, somebody that's ready.
Yeah.
Instead of just relying on the same guys, constantly trying to vie for that, like Drew McIntyre. Oh, we're going to do that again. Oh, Seth Rollins. It's like, God damn it, guys. We can't just give us a shock for once of just putting somebody out there that nobody really was giving a chance instead of once again being the same old song and dance. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Because sometimes, it's consistency of the same guy winning again. Like, but I don't want to go back down that direction. And I don't want Cena to also tie Steve Austin for Royal Rumble wins. I'll be pissed off. Like, that would suck. So
the only person that wanted to tie Steve Austin at this point is Cody Rhodes.
I agree.
That's it.
I agree.
And even then, I don't know if it's going to happen. But
I agree.
Who knows? So we'll move on a little bit here. So the second of the four matches, ironically, so much is happening during this event that it's kind of hard to remember that there were only four matches like we talked about earlier. But the next match was the Women's World Championship match, Rhea Ripley versus Liv Morgan, which was supposed to have a stipulation, I believe, of last woman standing, but they killed that pretty quick, and they never even discussed it. So We just got a regular match, which I think was okay. And, I think the match itself was okay, but Rhea Ripley defeats Liv Morgan to become, like a 4-time champion at this point, I think?
I believe so, yes.
If I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Any thoughts on the match before we get to the, what happens after the match?
Well, of course, it checked all the boxes.
Oh, God. Again.
Making...
Shit.
What?
Boo ran.
That.
It checked all the boxes as far as what I expected the match was going to be.
Same. Yeah.
All the same spots and that type of stuff. But and then again, you also knew and could expect, all right, they're going to end this now. And they're just going to, because it's been going on. They don't have long lasting feuds like that sometimes where it's just.
They do and they don't, but I mean...
They do and they don't, but it's going to be something, yes, they can go back to, I'm assuming, but who knows? They might be splitting up Liv and Dominic at some point, too.
Yeah,
that could be happening sooner
rather than later. I wish I got the picture of Rhea kicking him in the balls after the match. I wish I got that picture, but I didn't bother. But that was a nice little Easter egg. But I thought the best Easter egg was Undertaker coming out and giving Rhea a moment, which I thought was really special.
She
was
looked
probably
like
the best cameo of the night, honestly.
It turned out to be, without question, the best cameo of the night. And Rhea Ripley just looking like a child that went she just met her hero next to her.
Oh, yeah, she lit up.
Of course, though, I did mention in the group chat, I'm like, yeah, she was definitely giving the eyes that night.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, Taker's just like, if I wasn't married, maybe, but
which is funny because they had the crowd cameos right after that. Michelle McCool's out there, so.
And Michelle McCool's out there, and she's probably just like, oh, don't make me fucking hit you, Mark. Like,
she's like, yep, I'm gonna wave my little hat because I'm gonna
wave my hat
after this. Yep.
All right.
Yep. Now, what a cool moment though.
There were actually people saying, "Oh, I hope he gets on the back of the bike with." She gets on the back of the bike with Taker. It's like that ain't fucking happening. No way.
I actually thought it was going to for a second there. No, I'm serious. I thought it was, and then it's funny. I was like, man, I wonder if Michelle McCool was there. And then, like I said, she's the very next. Like,
she would have been cool with it. She would have just been
cameo.
like, no.
Oh, she would have killed him.
No,
she would have killed him.
Like, no fucking way.
Yeah. But yeah, I think for what that was, I think it was exactly what we had kind of expected it to be. So
Taker being unselfish, by the way, again, and making a cameo to make somebody else important.
He's
like he did with Bray Wyatt.
He's been doing it since he retired.
He did with Braun Breaker.
Yep.
Like he did with Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. Like he did now with Rhea Ripley.
Yep.
Pretty much just giving his seal of approval to the new established stars in the company. Especially Rhea. Rhea doesn't need it, but he still gave it to her. And now Rhea again gets propped up to people again that probably haven't had cable, that cut the cord long ago, and now on Netflix, all of a sudden it's just like, oh, let me check out WWE. Who's this Rhea Ripley? And then Taker comes out, and it's just like, well, she's a pretty big deal, I guess, if Taker's coming out and kind of being like, yeah, so I guess I got to be involved in this Rhea Ripley girl now. Like, it's exactly what it did.
Yeah.
It gave her instant credibility, even though she doesn't need it.
No, she don't.
Because in the last couple of years of what she's been able to do. But again, it also just gave her a moment, too, where it's just like, you know what? Shit. Like, I could die and go to heaven right now.
Yeah. I think for what she said in the post-show, it was like a moment that she'll never forget. And I believe it. I don't think she will. Sorry.
She would have been a Ministry of Darkness member, too. You know it.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Like, oh, my God. She would have been perfect.
She would have been way better at it. Yeah.
Yeah, she would have been perfect. Like, she literally would have been out just just power bombing people in the middle of, oh, my God.
Like I said, she would have had Chyna's spot, and she would have been better at it.
She would have.
And she would have had the look more so than Chyna did, too.
Yep.
All right, so the next match, because at this point they kind of stopped the segments, or the segments weren't really worth talking about, which I think there was only one segment here, which was the Chad Gable segment backstage with Adam Pearce. Obviously, during the show, they showed a graphic for Penta. You know, full kind of, vignette kind of thing. So, Chad Gable's going to have a match against a luchador in the next coming week. And obviously, if you read between the lines, it's going to be Penta.
Yes.
It's going to be Penta.
Yes.
The other segment I believe they had was discussing the women's intercontinental title match coming up on the next Monday Night Raw as well. So that'll be Dakota Kai versus Lara Valkyria.
Io Sky. Or no, it's
Dakota Kai.
Dakota Kai versus Valkyrie?
Yeah, Lara Valkyria.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they played that pretty heavily as well, which is kind of funny. I didn't get her picture for this, but during main event Jey Uso's entrance with his match against Drew McIntyre, Io is doing a dance in the crowd and looked to be enjoying herself. But also, they have Michael Cole joining Pat McAfee, getting up on the table and yeeting. And Michael Cole saying, "Please don't yeet on me, Pat." Just wow.
Hilarious stuff.
Yeah. They showed. I didn't get the picture of it, but they did show. I think a day or two later. I don't remember which day it was at this point. Michael Cole showing his Apple Watch, asking if he fell down.
Yes, I did see that.
Which I thought was hilarious.
Travis Scott, of course, coming out also with Jey Uso.
And smoking a joint. Yeah. Yeah.
If only RVD was still in town, they would have been able to. It's
I want to ask a question going into the match because I'm looking at the clock. Like, holy.
Yes,
crap.
I'm high.
Yeah, I'm high too. I want. Besides that, when was the last time Drew McIntyre had a bad match? Dude, it's on banger after banger after banger, man.
He's so good.
He really is.
He really is. He's one of the most underrated guys in the company as a talent.
He really is. It's crazy. I look at it from a perspective of, yeah, I know he lost the match, but it's still a great match. You could look at this match and be like, okay, yeah, it's exactly what you expected it to be. I actually expected Drew to win this match. Just saying.
Yes, I think we all did.
Yeah.
I think because, Drew's just coming back, it's just, and then all of a sudden it's just, distracted roll up. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, what? Okay, that's a way to win a match, I guess.
But Jay is also super over. You're kind of like,
but I feel like
when you have Travis Scott come out with him too, it's like, yeah, you can't have him lose.
I guess.
Like,
I don't know.
Like, you're not gonna have to come out. Yeah. I think I'd also mentioned to the group chat at one point. I said, "Didn't Travis Scott kill a person?" I'm like, "Where is he?"
I think he did say that. Yeah, I was just like, "Where the hell did that come from?" All right.
Well, it was that famous festival in Houston a few years back.
Oh yeah. Okay.
It was his concert, and I had mentioned, of course,
there's
accidents
so many concerts
happen.
that these things are happening at now that it's hard to kind of keep them track.
That's true. It's
unfortunate.
It is. It's the lay of the land with these festivals now. So,
yeah,
I guess it was a tasteless joke, but at the same time, it was still funny in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if you're listening to this and be like, "Whoa, that's just our sense of humor."
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
not sorry.
I was gonna say sorry, not sorry. Yeah, but yeah, Jey Uso defeats Drew McIntyre. Again, I get it. Jay's over. I would have booked Drew to win here. it furthers that whole thing of facing Roman and potentially teaming up with KO at some point, which I'd be shocked if that doesn't happen. KO. Yeah, I guess we can just move on to the guy that got booed.
Jesus.
Because, people boo beer.
Holy God. Wow.
So let's start.
Okay.
Hulk Hogan comes out. There's moderate reaction, I'll say it that way. He starts talking about the deal that WWE signed with Hulk Hogan Real American Beer. He's wearing the Real American Beer t-shirt that he has. Behind him is Jimmy Hart. No microphone, unfortunately, but waving the American flag. Great. Love Jimmy Hart.
Yes.
Jimmy Hart should have talked.
Yes.
Because then maybe it would have taken away or drowned out some of the boos that Hulk Hogan started to receive after touting his beer and touting this deal with Netflix and WWE. Because as soon as he started talking about that stuff is really when the reaction soured and he started to get booed. Hulk Hogan is out there for probably, in my estimation, less than 5 minutes. And that was the reaction. Him getting booed. And by the way, just because I mentioned this earlier, so I want to clarify this for people. You know how sometimes there is, in post-production, creative liberties taken? Yep. Nope. Those boos are still there on the show. So thank you, WWE, for not editing the crowd reaction.
Oh, God, they did it in 92, I remember, at the Rumble.
But they've done it in other events, too.
Oh, they've done it with Cena. They've done it with others but they did not do it this time.
Nope.
And you really can't, considering the fact of that this reached national news. Like, this was being reported by national outlets in discussion of what has been truly an eye-opening night, in a sense, for the community inside of it, because I've seen the best and worst of social media with this. The worst being the people, because there's a couple of buckets I put with people into this. The complete idiots out there that are, number one, and this is the human garbage category.
Oh, okay. Thank you for
the
clarifying.
People that are saying that what's going on in California, which we'll get to later, currently, is now all because of what their reaction is, payback, karma, for their reaction on Monday. If you are saying that on social media, shame you, go fuck yourself, and fuck off. You are a fucking moron. You are.
Yeah!
It's not funny. It's not edgy. You're just a jerk off. So if you want to come out with me, and say that, considering the situation right now that is going on, which is historic on many levels.
Yeah, historically bad.
Terrible. And historic on many levels in the sense of, we'll get to it later. But anybody who's making jokes of that, you're a fucking moron. Okay? Terry Bollea Hulk Hogan does not need sympathy, nor should he be granted any, for his actions, some of the things that he has said, the lies that he has spread, all of it. And people also are tired of dealing with you coming out and shilling your wares, especially a beer that is in the category of a Natty Ice or a fucking PBR.
I'm surprised you didn't go with Bud Light on that one.
Just Bud Light's still a name enough, like it's a cheap beer, but it's still got the Bud label on it, which call it what you will, but it's just, that's how it is. Because I'm thinking about like the cheap beers that I used to get, which was, I was such a Miller Lite guy at one point. Because it was great taste, less filling, but also
Shut up.
it just tasted better. I thought it tasted better. Now I'm more like a Michelob Ultra person, or like a occasionally I also like my Sam Adams too, so I'm not going to deny that.
I got you.
But it's hard for, number one, California is a very liberal crowd, but the Undertaker come out earlier in the night with Rhea Ripley, and Taker has had the president-elect on his podcast recently before the election, and has not openly said it, but kind of a Republican. And again, California being a liberal state, he's supporting the president-elect, but he wasn't booed by the audience.
Because it's how you go about it.
Exactly. He's not in your face about it. He's not tearing his shirt off in his fucking 70s, calling Donald Trump his hero.
Listen.
Because that's exactly what he did
Listen.
at the Republican National Convention.
I don't disagree, but here's what I'm going to say, right? And you started this earlier when you named both of his names, Hulk Hogan and Terry Bollea. There is a huge difference between the two. But
Yes.
when you are lending your, because kayfabe is a thing, your name to products, and your name Hulk Hogan starts kind of seeping into what should be your private life, so to speak, and you're making it your entire persona, I think it becomes very difficult to separate the man from the character. And I think that is kind of what we saw on Monday night, is people are no longer separating the two. And I am 100% behind you with the rationale of, oh, well, you booed Hulk Hogan, so you deserve to be just shit on, I'll say it that way, by Mother Nature. Go fuck yourself. Just go fuck yourself. You should never wish ill on another person because they don't share your opinion about a fucking wrestling character. Fuck you. You're what's wrong with this world. I'm just going to say it that way.
Yes, no, it's 100% fact.
But I also think that you said it earlier, that there's different degrees to this spectrum. I'm going to just say, me personally, I fall right in the middle. Do I think he deserved to get booed? Yeah, to a certain extent. I also think the crowd at that point was like, hey, can we be done with this? Can we just put more wrestling on? Can we get more wrestling segments?
That could have been it too. I mean, there could have been
out there shilling his product. I don't want that.
It was a commercial. It was a live commercial. Because when he first came out, it wasn't like boo, like it wasn't like the thunderous boos like it became.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, because, and everybody also points out of just like, oh, he gets thunderous. He got booed at Tampa. I remember when he was dressed up as a pirate that year at WrestleMania with Titus O'Neil, he got booed then.
Yep.
He got booed in fucking, I heard boos at WrestleMania 35 in Jersey.
Yep.
And so I've seen it. I've heard it before. He's never going to get the unanimous, thunderous applause again. It's never going to happen.
No, it won't. Ever.
Because of the actions that he made. And the bed that he has to lie in with his career.
Yep. 100%.
Terry Bollea was extremely selfish in the wrestling industry. And also someone that cannot deviate and cannot tell who's Terry Bollea and Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
And that is why I have to hear the same bullshit, all these fucking stories that he tells, all these bullshit lies, and all this stuff that you know is bullshit. You mean to fucking tell me that he was going to give up an entire lucrative wrestling career and go play bass for fucking Metallica? For one thing, that would have been great. Just him and Lars in the same fucking meeting for like the first 2 days,
Christ.
and him just throwing fucking Lars through a window, because who doesn't want to throw Lars through a fucking window?
Yeah. No.
Like-
Trust me. I read that analogy from a mile away because I was thinking the exact same thing. Like, why would he do that? Oh, it's fucking Lars.
I love the comments sometimes. Like I always get that the fight between him and Hetfield and some kind of monster that they had, like the argument. It always comes up sometimes in my reel, and some of the comments are just like, imagine having to look at Lars' face every day.
Well, that's the one benefit for Hetfield being the lead singer. He doesn't really need to look at him.
Oh my god!
He doesn't really need
It's
to fucking
just-
look at him.
They're one of my favorite bands ever. I love them
Listen,
to death.
they're mine too. I got it, but man, I'm
I
right there with
cannot
you.
fucking stand the guy.
Yep, right there with you. I can't stand him.
I could sit with James Hetfield and probably I could sit with Hetfield all day and probably talk random shit. Same thing with fucking with Kirk Hammett and Robert Trujillo. But if I had to fucking sit there with Lars, I'd just be like, I want to kill myself. I just can't do this. Fucking goddamn Lars Ulrich. God damn it.
Yeah, man. I
He's gonna sue us now for this
yeah,
defamation.
Probably. Fucking prick, anyways. Sorry, Lars, you are.
You guys are fucking assholes. You don't even know, man. The band that I am the drummer for the greatest. Shut the fuck up, you little midget fucking
I
asshole.
don't care. Shut up, Lars.
Go sue Napster again, you fuck.
I was waiting for that. Yep. I almost said it myself, but I knew it was coming, so I figured, hey, I'll just wait. There it is.
Well, the thing that I have to say this to get this out there
Go ahead, go.
this is the last bit of the Lars talk, okay? But the thing that ruined me with Lars was seeing that fucking goddamn documentary, and he's going out and buying like Van Gogh pieces. I'm like, how are you a metal drummer? You going out and fucking buying Van Gogh? The fuck is this? Like, he just seems like a trust fund kid that actually became a drummer to like the biggest band in the world.
Yeah, more or less. My daddy got me into this.
My daddy got me this. Oh, you fucking prick.
Jesus Christ. With Hogan, though, like I said, and you reiterated this point, it's like it's become, especially over the last 5 years, I feel like, just ever increasingly more and more difficult to separate the man versus the character.
It's so hard.
And listen, like, we've had this conversation multiple times. I'm not going to rehash it. I'm just going to very quickly blow through it. We
didn't know any better.
Didn't know any better, yes. We didn't know any better, number one. But number two, we can't take away what the guy was able to do for the industry. And he is the reason that wrestling is what it is today, ironically enough. And yes, there are other people that played roles in that, like your Stone Cold Steve Austin, like your Rocks, like a million other guys. And now I feel like we're in what I believe you and I kind of dubbed, not the Netflix era, but like this Renaissance era.
The Renaissance era.
Yeah. And wrestling has become mainstream once again, and it's probably bigger than it's ever been.
Well, at least
back
WWE
then.
has.
Well, no shit. That's what I'm saying. Not saying anything about the other company, but I feel like wrestling in general, yeah. It's no longer this dirty word, and we need to keep our love of it hidden or anything like that. Like it's become a platform for so many different people, and again, you can't take away the fact that all of that would not be what it is today without him.
I would have not gotten into this industry if it wasn't for him.
Exactly.
I would have not given a shit and stayed into it in 1995, 1996 if it wasn't for him.
Right.
I wanted to get out in 96. I was thinking about getting out in
The only one
96.
who wanted to get out in 96.
But just when I thought I was out, he pulled me back in. And that's how it was. And I got to meet him last year, one of the most defining moments of my life. I met the character, Hulk Hogan. I didn't meet the man, Terry Bollea.
Yeah.
I met Hulk Hogan. I didn't meet Terry Bollea. I felt like that audience was more reacting to Terry Bollea than it was the character of Hulk Hogan.
I agree.
But
I think that's
what
that's
he came
where.
out as. Yes, I think he came out as Terry. He didn't come out as Hulk.
I agree.
And I think that's part of the... Like, when Taker came out, it was to put somebody over. When Hogan came out, it was to put himself over. Put the beer over.
Put the beer over, yep.
And...
Came out as a salesman, I feel like.
Yes, it was a pitch. It was Billy Mays coming out.
Boo ran.
Oh, sorry.
And I understand people that have this kind of thought process or this crisis in their mind. I can't support them because maybe my friends would think less of me because of it. And I get all that. And I understand that. I've talked with people, I've talked with wrestlers that I've asked them flat out in this industry. I've said, does it bother you if people still support him? And they said no. Because it's hard for people, again, because he was able to say, Terry Bollea said it, Hulk Hogan didn't. Yeah. Terry Bollea said what he said on tape. Hulk Hogan did not.
Exactly.
And that is where my thought processes began. I love Hulk Hogan. I'll always love Hulk Hogan. I was always love be a Hulkamaniac. And I think that there's the majority of the wrestling public that are still Hulkamaniacs. They just don't like Terry Bollea. And I think that that's what Terry needs to realize. And I also think that WWE needed to read the fucking room. More importantly, don't bring him out in Los Angeles.
How about that? I don't think it has anything to do with Los Angeles specifically.
He might have gotten booed too in the Garden. Who the fuck knows?
Hear me out. I think it was the timing in which they brought him out.
That's fair.
Because again, at this point, you're already 3 matches deep. You know there's only 4 matches. You want to watch the main event. I don't want to hear Hulk Hogan, or Terry Bollea for that matter, hawking his beer.
I do have one I do have one thing that I got to ask.
What's that?
If he opens the show, does he get cheered?
I don't think it's cheered, but I don't think it's booed either.
Probably out of the building like he did. No, but that main
No,
event was to
I don't think he gets cheered or booed. I think it's a neutral reaction.
a moderate crowd. Yeah.
Or just neutral. Period. I don't think he gets booed out of the stadium. I don't think he gets cheered out of the stadium.
Yeah.
I think it's just neutral, because you listen. You already had Triple H open the show. You already had The Rock come out immediately after. After the first match, you have Cena come out. All of these 3-4 guys are over the moon thanking the crowd and Netflix and the WWE universe, whether it be the company itself or the fans again, whatever. Talking about how it's worldwide, brother, and all this stuff. And then this dude comes out, hawks his beer first, then says something about Netflix, then hawks his beer again. Who fucking cares?
Exactly.
Like, I don't want your fucking shit beer, bro. I get the question, and I think it's a great question to ask, but again, like, at this point, it's already like 10 something in the evening. I just want to be done.
Yes.
I want to watch the fucking main event and be done.
Yeah.
And maybe the post show, which I really didn't watch, save for one aspect of it, which I'm sure we'll figure out once we get to the pictures.
Especially
of that.
especially the LA audience, concerning the fact that we got to realize this is probably a 5:00 show on the West Coast. Those people are looking to get the fuck out of there and probably go to a restaurant. They might have reservations they want to try to get to. And
Who knows, man? But yeah, you're not wrong. But let's take that and do the same and just take it to the main event. Your main event is CM Punk versus Seth freaking Rollins. I'm just gonna.
It might. I don't know. It might be 0.
-5 stars for too many finishes. I think it's the Dave Meltzer rating.
In my opinion, this was the match of the night. I understand that people with Roman and Solo, there's a lot of people that are behind that, which I think that was a good. I felt like, yeah, this is damn good, but
that was a good storytelling match for the.
It was, but this was, I felt like, again, because it was kind of a student versus teacher, old type of because Punk again was part of the reason that Seth Rollins was able to get into this industry.
Yep.
And was able to not only get into this industry but excel. And there was all the bad vibes and the bickering between the two over the years. So it's just like, this is it, the first time that these two were ever going to face off against each other, and it lived up to the hype. It's hard for matches to live up to the hype, especially too with Punk's age. What is he, 46 now? Something like that. That's what he said later on.
I forget. I want to say yes, but I feel like he's a year younger. He's 46.
He's in the Bret, he looks at himself as Bret Hart, of somebody that just, he can keep going until the wheels falls off, which they haven't fallen off yet. They've come close, I'm sure. Especially with some of these injuries that he's dealt with over the last 5 years.
Last 3 even.
Yeah, especially the last 3. That's true.
Yeah.
Because he broke the foot in 22, and then, Jesus,
Yeah.
you're right. Last 3 years, it's just been hard, I think, for him, not only just with the injuries, but also with other issues or personality issues that may or may not have happened.
Can I say that the jacket the towel and the post show and the donuts. Even
Oh,
though
the
they
donut.
weren't, even though they weren't muffins.
That was some clever shade if I've ever seen it.
I thought it was hilarious.
Uh,
I don't care
I
what anybody says. I thought
Do
it was
you-
effing hilarious.
you know who's, I guarantee you, because I'm thinking about it now, because considering the positioning of where things were, I guarantee you that when Hogan and him might have maybe not even interacted, but there may have been a kind of a looking at the eyes at one moment. I'm willing to bet that when Hogan went out there and started getting booed heavily, that Punk was probably in Gorilla laughing his ass off.
Oh, I'm sure he was.
Laughing his ass off. And this match, in my opinion, especially how he came out with the jacket, and of course, it just looked like everything, like the focus of just like, I'm the guy. Like, it's just everything now. And I didn't know who was going to win this thing either. Like, you didn't know. Like, it could have went Seth's way. It could have went Punk's way. You didn't know. Because either guy really come out of that promo, it was like, really, in my opinion, this could go either way.
I felt 70% Punk, 30% Rollins.
But it's fair that you want to have him have the most momentum in the world going into the Rumble or
That's why.
do WrestleMania, or because do you have Punk win the Rumble?
Listen. I don't care if it's a pipe dream or not. What I said last week, it is going to be how I would write this. I don't know if Roman wins the Rumble. I don't know if Roman wins Elimination Chamber. However, that is how I would book this. And then I would immediately shift to Punk calling in his favor. And then it's a three-way between Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, and CM Punk for the WWE Undisputed Championship. That is how I would book that. And I know there are people out there that are like, that is a fucking pipe dream. I know there are people out there that's like, no, don't do that. But to them, I'm just going to say, why? Why not? Because at the end of the day, you insert so much bullshit into that match if you do that. Because you still have this whole KO situation. You have Drew McIntyre. You have the Bloodline, the Usos, Sami Zayn. You have Seth Rollins if you keep up the CM Punk program for another month or two. You have so many different variables that go into that match, which, not for nothing, is exactly what they've been doing the last 3 WrestleManias anyways. So why not? Go back to a triple threat main event. You haven't had one in a while anyways.
It's true.
And then you give Punk exactly what he has been looking for forever, which is a WrestleMania main event. Who cares how he got it? Who cares? The only then question that I think that turns into is, okay, if Roman wins the Rumble or Elimination Chamber and Punk does not, then who is facing Gunther? That then becomes a question.
Or do you have
Because
Punk win the title?
that's what I was going to say, because then maybe you have Punk win the
Roman
alternative.
or Roman win the title and Punk challenge.
Maybe. Maybe.
Because I feel like
You have a hard
have
time with
to
this
have-
because you know that my idea is going to fucking sell.
no. I love your idea. I just feel like they're not going to go that direction.
Which is stupid, but okay.
It is stupid. Because I feel like that match is a lot.
Frank fucking
Because
knows what that match is.
you have an out
You do.
with that match. You have an out.
You do.
Because all Punk wants is the main event, so he can take an L, and you don't have to pin Roman or Cody. Or Punk beats Cody. I don't think Cody would. Roman probably won't want to do the job for Punk unless because it's got to be that, which was surprising with which was really surprising with Seth Rollins, because I'm sure there was a part of him that was just like, well, I should get the first one. Just because of the thought process of he was in another company, he left, and it's weird because Punk really hasn't had to face the repercussions of walking out on a company. Brock Lesnar.
I mean,
the
I feel
first
like he's
match
paid
back,
his
he lost to
dues,
John
though.
Cena. Well, he has and he hasn't from one
Kayfabe, I get
perspective.
it, yeah.
Kayfabe from one because the way that I look at it is, yeah, he's probably made peace with everybody. Like everybody, they're all cool and they're all business. But I'm sure that there's that part of it of just like, I shouldn't fucking have to lose to you yet. Like, you gotta show me something here. But because it's just, everybody gets sensitive and blah, 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 blah. And if Vince was still in charge, number one, if Vince was still in charge, I don't think Punk would have came back.
Safe bet.
And he's even admitted it, which is funny because he's just like, he said in an interview recently, he's just like, it's not like he had a good relationship with Triple H either. It's like, no, he didn't. But Rollins, I felt like, had a much better relationship with Vince than what fucking CM Punk did.
Well, no shit.
Because Vince tried everything in the world to try to get Rollins over as like a top draw star. And I felt like with Punk, it was just like, he doesn't want to acquiesce. And it's just like, he's got to bend down and, he's got to be able to, because Punk probably had his back up against the wall the whole time, which I don't blame you. It's just when you're in a company like that and you're technically seen as an outsider, and it's just like, again, because he probably had all the wrong people in the wrestling business, or at least in that company, against him. Kevin Dunn was probably against him. Vince was against him. Laurinaitis was probably against him.
Well, I think part of it is, especially at that time period, he's still looking for the bigger guys. And I don't mean just name, I mean like physique.
That, and it's just, well, yeah, because obviously with Cena, it's just like, well, but I look at with I don't even know if Triple H even kind of hated him then, because
I don't know. Who knows?
he probably would just felt threatened because it was just,
Well, yeah.
Triple H at that time was still like an active talent and was just like, well, you can't get above me. And now he's just like so far removed from it. He's just like, I don't care. Plus, he's an executive. I mean, who would have thunk it that one of Triple H's right-hand people in the company is not only like Bruce Pritchard, but also like Paul Heyman? Like, I never thought that Paul Heyman and Triple H would be like boys. Never would have, because it's just,
I would have, because
that-
it's the mentality.
yeah, that's probably it.
I don't think it's what we see on TV, of course, obviously, but I think it's just that old school kind of booker promoter kind of mentality that both of them kind of have, and I love the business, of course, but that's just how I see it.
It's interesting with what direction Punk is going to go in. I kind of feel bad for Rollins because I don't know exactly where he's going to end up in the cards for WrestleMania. I've heard rumors that it could be Gunther and Rollins. I've heard rumors that another match that was thrown around was Rhea Ripley and Io Sky. Like, there's nothing I feel like that's.
Oh, let's pin that for a second. So just clarifying the fact that CM Punk defeated Seth Rollins.
Yes.
I have the picture. There's CM Punk with his donut in the post show because of course we had to have that too. But
the best.
Before we go on to our speculation of what the next few months are going to have, if we look at the show holistically, right, there's a lot of cameos, there's a lot of build, they're saving stuff, right? Because
Nikki Bella's back. Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm surprised they actually named her Nikki Bella and Nikki Garcia, but hey, whatever.
Well, they own the Bella name, so they could have done that. You know.
That's true, but you know how that goes. The other thing, the reason I kind of do this is because there are a lot of cameos and a lot of backstage segments that we didn't talk about. But there's also a lot of stuff that we didn't get, right? So a lot of people expected Penta to debut. That didn't happen, right? They saved it for a week. That's most likely going to happen. A lot of people thought we were going to get the match for the Women's Intercontinental Championship match between, I already blanked, but Dakota Kai and
Lyra Valkyria.
Lyra Valkyria, yep. We didn't get that either. A lot of speculation about Becky Lynch making her return. We didn't get that either.
Has been confirmed, though. She has re-signed with the company.
That has been confirmed. You are correct. I feel like they held not announcing it for a lot because I feel like we knew this was a done deal. They only just recently announced it, though, I think the previous week. But did you also feel like, even aside from those things, there was still stuff they could have done that they just didn't do it? Like, we could have gotten more out of it, and we just didn't? Or what do you feel like was missing, too, from the show, I guess, is another way of phrasing that.
No tag matches. Everything was just one-on-one matches, and it was just, I don't know. I felt like you could have gotten like an 8-man tag or something fun to just break up the monotony of just fucking promos and like long cameo commercials. It's like,
Yeah.
It's a wrestling show. 4 matches on 3-hour show. That's bullshit. They could have at least gone to 6, maybe 5.
Sure.
They could have at least got one, or they could have got one more in there, like a fucking battle royal. Just make something fun. Just do something fun and not.
I think the Lyra Valkyria versus Dakota Kai would have been amazing to have.
That would have been great too. Like another
champion. Like, yeah, I get it. You crowned Rhea, but
also having
championship.
Also having another women's match would have been nice to kind of like even it out.
That too, yeah.
Instead of just being like 75% men matches. It's just because it's just 3 out of 4. It's like, yeah, it should be like the way that I look at it is women's and men wrestling should either be like on a mixed card. It should be either
50-50,
women,
60-40, something like that.
It should be like 50-50, 60-40. Exactly. And it wasn't that way at all. It was just throw another women's match on there. They deserve another like a women's tag team match with Naomi, Bianca. Like Bianca is featured her. Bianca
hold
was
on.
Sorry.
No. I don't want to cut you off here, but I think this is such a great comment to make because I 100% agree with you. Because they talked about Lyra Valkyria versus Dakota Kai at least 3 times.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? To your point, they show Io and Dakota. They show Lyra. They show other women talent like Bianca and Naomi. But I also heard this week that in the Performance Center this week, about to probably make her return, was Jade Cargill.
Could have done it that night.
Could have done it that night. Hold on. So there's one more comment I want to make here about women, then I'll give it back to you, right? Even if it wasn't a match, you could have done these things that I'm talking about. You still could have done the Intercontinental Championship for the women, the new title. But there is one return that I was actually surprised that did not happen, and it was Charlotte Flair.
Yeah, that was surprising.
Okay. I'm glad you and I agree on that, because I was really shocked that if not Becky...
Alexa Bliss, too. She's been kicking the tires lately.
That's another one. Between Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, and Alexa Bliss, and to a lesser extent Carmella even too, I am surprised that we did not have... And Asuka too. Asuka's been on the show for a while as well. That we did not have some kind of woman return that night. Charlotte being probably the bigger of those, I feel like.
Asuka's probably going to be another 4 or 5 months, because I know, because I think she tore ACL.
Too, yeah. But still.
So I didn't expect her. I don't expect her to be back until either around
hey man,
even.
Jimmy Uso broke a toe and he's already been.
It's different.
It is. You're right. But
a ligament tear is different.
I agree. I'm just saying.
Yeah, and but yeah, the women I felt like should have had more of a representation.
100% agree.
I felt that was.
I was expecting a big woman return.
Yeah, or either just something like a tag match, something that kind of. Yeah, even if they brought Trish Stratus in and she teamed up with because Bianca Belair Bianca Belair won the championship 3 consecutive years.
Yep.
And she's just been on the fucking back burner now for the last year and a half. It's what the fuck are we doing here? What are we doing here?
Well, let me ask you a question about Bianca.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's going to be this week or the next couple of weeks or at the Rumble or whatever. I don't know. But do you think we see a heel turn finally coming? Do you think she was the one that attacked
it's probably Naomi.
Jade? I've heard that too, but maybe Bianca did it before the match, and who knows?
I don't know.
I'm just guessing here.
I don't know what they've been doing with Bianca, because I feel like she's been. I mean, I understand what they've been doing. They made her a tag team, but it's still, it's I feel like she's. It's everything's been about Rhea and Liv the last year, and Becky has been retired, but Bayley too has been on the back. So many women that should have been showcased on this show that weren't, and there was no story development for them for them either.
Yeah,
it was just bad. It was that part of it. It annoyed me. It's you could have put one more women's match to represent on the card to kind of balance it out more, instead of just 3 men's matches or 3 singles. Oh, no, you give them another one. They need more of a showcase than just a 12-minute match between Liv and Rhea that we've seen 6 times already.
I mean, listen, I still like Dom getting kicked in the balls at the end of the match. So.
No, I didn't mind it. I didn't I'm not knocking it. I'm not. It was it was a good match. It was just my thought process of just we need more women showcased on the show.
Is there anything else you felt that was missing from the show, aside from just women matches?
Stone Cold.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that thought that. It was weird. You almost expected it, almost every time.
He was more of an integral part to Raw in their history than Hogan. Hogan was more of an integral part for Nitro than he was Raw. He only did a few episodes in '93, and then he didn't come back to it until 2002, and then 03, 04, but that was it. Like, he was not like this integral part of Monday Night Raw in its early days and its inception, besides a couple of episodes. And then he's more known for the stuff that he did on Nitro. But Steve Austin, his entire run on top was mostly on Raw. And one of the reasons that the show lasted and was successful as it did was because of him. Massive, huge ratings. And he wasn't booked on the show, or he wasn't invited or something. It's just, how the hell do you let that happen? He wouldn't have got booed like fucking Hogan did. They should have had Austin out there, and Hogan should have done like a pre-tape somewhere.
Yeah.
Silly.
I was surprised in general by the lack of some of the Hall of Famers that were there. Like, Sean Waltham being there, no shock at all. One of the others that they showed, obviously same thing, but the lack of guys like Stone Cold, even Kurt Angle, you could have had him come in. I don't think Jericho is going to show up given his contract status with AEW, but maybe Glenn Jacobs
Who the
makes an
fuck would
appearance.
want him there?
Well, there's that too. Scott Hudson would if you ask him, but
Oh God. Oh. Did I skip that round table?
yeah. Buddy, if I'm gonna do it, you gotta do
Bite
it.
my fucking lip the whole time. I'm like,
No, come on.
I love Jericho. He's
He
like,
had some
I
good
love Jericho. I'm like,
segments, I know. You could have had a Kevin Nash show up. You could have had other guys that are Hall of Famers show up. And listen, it's not a knock. Like, you've had a lot of them come the last couple of weeks, and I get that, and I respect that. I respect a lot of the Hall of Famers that have done that, especially the last couple of years, let alone the last couple of months.
Hall of Famers. You're gonna have Donald Trump come out. Oh God, he really would have got booed.
Jesus. But notable among them, I do agree, is Steve Austin. It was one of those situations where it's like, where's Austin? Where's Austin? When's he coming out? And it just never happened. And
No Logan Paul too. That was surprising.
no, Logan Paul was there. He was in the crowd.
Oh, okay.
He was in the crowd. A lot of them were like EO, like Dakota.
I missed that part.
Beyonce. Yeah, it was like right after a commercial, I think. If I'm not
okay.
mistaken. I don't remember, but I think it was. So easy miss there. But yeah, it wasn't long. It was just a crowd cameo. And they had other ones too. I guess they had other ones planned, but they didn't materialize for any reason whatsoever that I'm aware of. But I don't know. You kind of said it best, man. Like, a 3-hour show with 4 matches and a lot of backstage segments and a lot of cameos. It's not going to hurt your product, but it's not going to blow anybody away either.
One more women's match I felt like was
I know.
highly represented. And of course, women's wrestling doesn't draw. Look, it is a vital representation to the program now. It's been like that now for the last 6 or 7 years. And that's just that is just not just in WWE, but is except in AEW, because for some reason it's just like, oh, we don't give a shit. But it is a vital part of a top level professional wrestling organization now.
Yeah. I don't disagree. It's one of those situations where I was just really surprised by it. I didn't watch all of it, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but I just want to say congratulations to Giuliano, the new NXT Women's Champion, Obafemi, the new Men's NXT Champion. Congrats to Stephanie Vaquer for becoming the #1 contender to the Women's United States or North American
Championship. North American Championship.
Whatever the hell it is. Apparently New Year's Eve was a great show. I recorded it. I just haven't watched it yet because there's so much other stuff going on this week with wrestling. Apparently The Rock had a great cameo with Adam Page as well. That I thought that was a hilarious segment. I did catch that on YouTube, and it was just really funny. But I gotta say, man, it's like everything WWE is putting out lately, even some of the misses, it's like they're not missing very much, and they're not
They are
missing
not.
a lot. So
They are doing very well. They are also lucky on Monday that they were able to get the crew out of Los Angeles,
yes,
as we have been alluding to most of the program, and we didn't want to talk about until the end of it, until we got to through the good stuff of everything that had happened in Los Angeles, because the city of Angels right now is hell on earth, supposed to speak. This is what I think a lot of people have always feared was quite possible that it could happen, and that is multiple brush fires and high winds, and there's no way we can put these fuckers out.
yeah.
And
I'm gonna clarify that this actually does relate to wrestling, not only because of the fact that they have the show in LA, but for those that are unaware of it, Kathy Kelly, who is one of the backstage reporters with WWE, has a home in Los Angeles, and she was forced to evacuate. It's on Twitter X, actually.
Billy Crystal lost his home.
Yep.
The sights that I've seen from it, and also the Hollywood sign, is mesmerizing and also simply tragic, because of the fact of is that, and I had mentioned it earlier, and alluded to the fact of the history, that why this is historic, because of the historic nature and the entire history of Hollywood is on the verge of just being completely wiped out. Landmarks, mansions, everything. And that is something that you can't rebuild. You can't. No matter what, no matter, oh, we can rebuild from this. You can't rebuild the history. The concept of if these walls could talk. Joe Rogan mentioned this. I've been seeing clips of it today, of firefighters who have told them in the past of just like, if the winds catch right, there is nothing we can do. It's just going to burn all the way to the fucking ocean. And they're fearing that this is the one that's going to do it. And the insurance companies in the state of California in the last year had dropped fire protection from their home policies, because I was thinking about it today. A lot of these $30 to $35 million mansions, I said there is no cash reserve that is going to be able to handle those payouts, because if you think of 30 homes and they're all $30 million a piece, that's $900 million I got to pay out. There is no insurance company that can pay that out that has a cash reserve of that much. And that just that one part of it, you're talking about trillions of dollars that is lost in real estate and loss of life. And of course, the history, the hollowed halls and hills of Hollywood just being completely wiped out now. In another real tragic event. Yeah, because this happened again 5 years ago, I think right before the COVID outbreak. There were some fires in Santa Barbara, Santa Monica, around that area, that they were able to douse. Not now. I know the governor of California did cut like $20 million from firefighter budget. That seemed like a bright idea at the time. Now looking back on now, did it? Jesus Christ. Like I'm watching this coverage now. And just some of the things that I have seen, like, because there are moments I'll just look up and I'm just like, it, it's something I've never seen before. Like, it just keeps going and going. And there's several of them just all just going on at the same time. And it's just like, you look at things sometimes, you're just like, I've seen that before. And it's just on fire and it's just growing. There's the high school from Carrie, the original Carrie movie, burned down.
So, as you're talking about, especially about the fact of like the insurance payouts, I excuse me, I went on Trulia to look at house prices in this area, right? So I'm just like siphoning through. I'm not really like clicking on any of these, but these are all like multi-million dollar houses and
Right.
Palisades, of course. So for those that aren't aware, it's north of Santa Monica, north of Playa del Rey, etc. Still very much close to downtown Los Angeles, but kind of a little bit north more so. You have houses that are 17 million, 3 million, 12 million, 25 million, 6.2 million. You have a couple that are just shy of $1 million, but most of these homes are multi-million dollar homes. And again, I just grabbed a random real estate website, right? But you have to figure that if you're able to afford these places and your insurance provider is no longer carrying fire damage, you got to figure that these people are paying a premium for that, because otherwise, like you said, you're paying a boatload of money for that. And on top of that, if you are paying for that coverage separately, don't think you're going to get that payout anytime soon with the damage to this area.
No.
And, some of these people, to your point, especially being able to afford some of these homes, yeah, you might be able to pay for it to get fixed and everything and build it up better. But like you said, man, if those walls can talk, what are they going to tell you? Like, you and I are, I think, fortunate in a different type of way, maybe, where we might grow up in a different house, but our parents still own one of those houses that we grew up in,
Yes.
right? If these people, which I'm sure a lot of them do, have family or extended family, all you have left is those memories,
Yep.
because that area very likely A, will never be the same, and B, it will not be the same house.
They
And I just found one for 50 million, so case in point. you know
they might never be able to rebuild.
that's
Period.
yeah.
Because there's several things that is working against them. For one thing, it's the climate and the nature of the environment that they're
Yes. Yep.
in. And secondly, unfortunately, but it's just the way it is because of certain things that have gone on recently, they are not going to get the donations that they would have 10 or 15 years ago, because
Even if they do, is that going to matter? Is the question.
if they
I
did,
don't
if
want to
it
cut
was,
you off, but I mean,
it's
a
not
good
going to
point
be,
make.
it's not going to be like a telethon like they did for Katrina. Okay. It's not going to be one of those situations of the Stand Up for New York type telethon or something like that, because there is such a negative sentiment from the majority of the general public towards Hollywood now that they look at this. And I don't think, I think they feel sympathy I think they're sympathetic of the situation, but I think that they're just like, well, they're all millionaires. They can afford it.
That's part of why I'm asking. Does it matter? And I'm not trying to sound like cold and asking the question, but the reason I say it is if you just listen to me go through those prices of available
I'm sorry,
real
I'm a
estate.
dick.
It's not just you. It's me too. Like I'm kind of being a dick
Yeah.
about it too, I guess. But it's like I'm looking at this through like a sense of realism. If somebody bought that $50 million mansion that I just saw, and it gets burned down because of these wildfires, these forest fires, if you will, then is that $50 million donation from however many people really going to fix that home? And the answer is more than likely no. But to your point, maybe that is just throwing a random name out there. Maybe it's RDJ's house and the dude doesn't care. He'll buy a new mansion somewhere else. But then at that point, okay, fine. Like Robert Downey Jr. is fine. But then what happens to that property? Is it just going to stay decrepit until somebody decides to fix it? It's going to decrease the market share and market value of that home and the surrounding homes. It's just, there's a lot of things that maybe this area, like you said, doesn't recover. Maybe all these people are going to be fine, depending, but maybe the area itself is just going to, be wiped off the map, as it were. And it's unfortunate, regardless of whether it's Hollywood or, Louisiana or wherever the hell. Like, it's an unfortunate situation for all these people, regardless of whether or not they can afford it. It's just, if they can afford it, they're just going to go somewhere else instead. And
The loss of life, the loss of wildlife, the loss of is going to be up there. I feel.
well, if they don't listen to evacuation orders, yeah.
Yeah.
I think at this point,
But there's a
it's
lot of
only
people,
fully confirmed.
it's also a direction to where some people they don't have a place to go.
That's
And
true too.
that's part of it. It's the same thing that people dealt with the Katrina situation back in 2005. It's kind of a different landscape, however, because you're dealing with in New Orleans, a very poor community, where Los Angeles is a very rich community, depending on where you live. And
Well, I mean,
it's
Pacific Palisades. I mean,
yes, Pacific Palisades and
but like,
Malibu and
yeah.
Burbank. Yeah, it's hard seeing these pictures because again, you're seeing these places. Some of the places look familiar, and you're just like, I've never seen anything like this before. And you're seeing like Saint Amant, like because we all played Grand Theft Auto 5. You're playing it now, actually.
Yeah, I'm playing it now,
You're
so
telling
it's
me
like shit, man.
you go to Santa Monica Pier and you're just looking over and you're just like it's completely on fire. It's not it being on fire, but you're seeing the smoke and like the amber and like the glowing orange behind it. Like yeah, it's stunning. Visually it looks cool for photography wise, but what has come with it is truly tragic and heartbreaking, because a lot of history is being wiped out and the a lot of income, a lot of everything in the world possible. It's tragic. It really is. I don't wish it upon anybody with anything that's going on over there right now. People that have lost homes, people that lost, it's just, yeah, it's the last thing I'd want really for anybody to kind of go through. Like, yeah, I've been through it with fires. I've been through the recovery of one. I've been through a rebuild of one. It's costly, it's expensive, and the stress you go through it, you're never the same. You're just never the same.
Kind of makes me wonder if at some point there's this change in California that they start taking down some of their forests. I don't think this is something that's going to happen tomorrow or next year or anything like that, but the amount of forests they have around a major city like LA is a little ridiculous. Even San Diego to a lesser extent, and listen, I get it, I do, but for the amount of issues that California historically has had with wildfires, it kind of makes me wonder if there's a change coming at some point. I hope it doesn't happen, but it's just one of those things that I kind of started to think about lately.
I mean, because you don't know you don't know what is going to be left after this if they can't control this thing.
That's another thing too. That's why I'm saying.
So you don't know, and not just the wildlife, but just like the property and the buildings in general and
Well, that's what I'm saying.
everything.
Because, listen, like I said, and this is why I think it's such an important question to ask, right? Is that home that's 54 or 55, whatever $1 million, if they don't fix that, it's just going to sit there.
So 20,000 acres currently in Los Angeles County is on fire right now. And only 6% of the 20,000 acres is contained.
I'm not going to math right now, but that's not great.
No, that that is that's pissing into a snowbank is what that is.
Great analogy. I love it. I'm here for it.
It's all it is.
No,
I mean,
I know. It's one of those situations where it's just like you just can't even argue it. You just can't. But I will say, you know, I know it's a little cliche, but thoughts and prayers to all the people in that area, whether you've had to evacuate or not, or you might be under an evacuation advisory. You know, obviously, as we've already said, people have lost their homes. That's never a good situation. So, you know, we're hopeful that, you know, these people will be able to find shelter, get back on their feet sooner rather than later.
absolutely.
But
No, I hope
Stay
that
safe.
there's I hope everybody heed the warning from people. Like if you're getting an evacuation, they tell you to leave now. Leave fucking now. Get out.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if you're under any evacuation advisory, just pack now and consider just leaving.
Yeah.
Don't wait, because the worst thing you can do in this situation is to wait.
If you're if you got awards, if you're a television actor or an actor, yeah, you can take them with you. You could, if you have an Oscar, I understand if you're like, I gotta save this. Okay.
That's why I'm saying pack now.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why I'm saying pack now. Don't wait, just pack.
You can fit the Oscar in the bag, honey. All right. I can take it with me. This is gonna be an altering event in our entertainment and our everyday lives as far as media consumption and entertainment is concerned, because this is going to uplift some productions. It's going to be you think there were delays now, you know, they had the union strikes, they had the COVID shutdown, and now this is also the P Diddy shit and the Harvey Weinstein. Oh boy. Oof. Hollywood right now is just like, can we just fucking catch a break? No.
Yeah, seriously.
But speaking of break, I think it's time for us to call it a night, folks. On the sentiment of Mac, I also wanted to send my deepest thoughts and prayers and condolences to the people in Los Angeles County in California. I hope you all stay safe. Heed the warning. and don't try to be a hero. Like, because fire is just something. Fire is unfucking predictable, number one. And so are those winds. So don't be a hero and think you're going to be able to save the day. It's just like, just get the fuck out of here. Just get out. Just leave. Go home.
Listen, if the firefighters can't contain it, your
Neither can
sprinkler
you.
system is not going to contain it either.
No. Your sprinkler system, you can't go out there with a fire extinguisher either. And just thinking, it's almost like that. It's almost like that movie with Tommy Lee Jones, Volcano, has just somehow come to life. Remember how it's the volcano under Los Angeles?
Yeah, I remember that. Listen, I love that movie, which is funny.
What was better, that movie or Dante's Peak?
Story-wise, this movie has actual scientific accuracy. Dante's Peak.
Dante's Peak was yes, it was good for science nerds, but I felt like the volcano was more of an entertaining movie.
It was. That's what I'm saying. 100%.
And you're right.
Yeah.
You're 100% right. And that grandmother in Dante's Peak was one of the dumbest fucking people in the history of film.
Yeah, that's...
You were 3 feet from the dock. You didn't need to go and jump in and fucking drag the thing, you idiot. You knew it was acid. You were there. Stupid.
I feel like she could have just leaned over the side and kicked and been somewhat better off than just jumping in. Plus, she was an asshole anyways, most of the movie.
She was, yes. Because the kids got up there to try to help her. It's just like, because she wouldn't come off the mountain. It's like, come off the mountain.
She's an asshole, period. She's an asshole character.
When Sarah Connor and James Bond tells you to get off the mountain, get off the fucking mountain,
get off the fucking mountain, exactly. But the other thing I will say is, in Volcano, Anne Heche, a straight woman, actually worked. I was surprised.
On that note, folks, thanks for listening to Pro Wrestling World Talks here on Spotify and also on YouTube under Diamond Podcasting Productions. And Mac, do you have anything else to say on this fine evening?
I think you just silenced me, so no.
I really did, yes. Good night, everybody.
You're just...
Are you trying to get us canceled? What the fuck?
I guess I am. Okay, bye.